Hey, Jest, what's going on, buddy?
Oh yeah, we're finally back, man.
We
It has
are.
been way too long.
It has
Way
been.
too long.
It has been. I don't know what is wrong with us. What did we get old or something all of a sudden? We just like had lives or some shit. I don't know. Why have we not done
It's
this
this,
recently?
it's this family man business, bro. I'm actually just coming to terms with what a little bitch I'm becoming. I recently, literally, actually, while I was during our last break, right before we were about to kick this new one off, I recently caught myself saying out loud to my wife, "Babe, you didn't drink the tea I made you." That
Wow.
is just not something, yeah, not
Okay.
something that I ever pictured myself saying, but this is what happens to married men. So
Well,
shit like
welcome to
that.
Live from the Man Cave, everybody. This is the stuff we talk about now. Is the
This is
tea we
why we
make.
run to the man cave to reassert our alpha maleism and not be these
Right.
beta male motherfuckers.
Right. Oh
So
my
now I'm
God.
back. Let's
You're
do
back.
this,
All right,
bitches.
Jess. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. Welcome back to the Man Cave. Thank you
Woo!
very much for making your way back.
This,
It's been a long road, but you made it back. Oh, she's telling us we're tired. I'm doing okay.
this
I'm
is
doing
why I need
fine.
this in my life.
I'm doing fine, lady. By the way, I also want to say, speaking of this lady babbling at me about looking tired, I want to say that as soon as I turned this on, before we even got a chance to start broadcasting, the very first thing she said, which we're going to get into in a minute, but the very first thing she said is, hey, by the way, I want you to remember the decisions that you make in this game are very important and can impact the outcome of the game. You can actually lead to the deaths
Oh
of multiple
fuck.
characters within your game. So I
Oh
want to make
fuck.
sure that you take your decisions very seriously. And I was like, no, why'd you have to remind me of that shit? God damn it. I forgot the
Yeah.
way the last
She's
one
like,
ended. Fick!
AKA,
Oh,
you got Connor
goddamn.
killed, dickhead.
I did. Fick! God damn it! Oh, she's so disappointed in me. All right, why don't you explain to everybody what we're doing here while I fucking gloom and just I sit in and just fucking cry in the corner. I'm really upset about this.
Ready Player Two is our concept of a show where we basically, outside of our regular podcasts, I'll post a link to, where we play video games together, and like we try to do couch co-op, or not necessarily couch co-op, but co-op games. So both players are necessary to go forward. In this particular case, though, ironically, we started with this game because even though it's a one-player game, I've already played it. It relies on choices, and now like I get to witness your choices, and then come through on the back end conversation and kind of talk about what I did differently and compare notes. And plus, I just want to see. I thought the story was really good. I liked the game a lot, and I wanted to replay it afterwards to see what else could have happened, but then I was like, I don't want to go through and just make choices not to make them, just to make them. So now I get to watch you make those choices, and rather than me just kind of like doing it for no reason. I want to see how you play this out,
And
and
we've
it's led to a
dovetailed
lot of
quite a bit.
conversation.
Yeah, we've dovetailed quite a bit already. And so there's been, we
Yeah.
went through some chapters where we started to feel like, oh man, we actually think really quite a bit alike because we were making a lot of the same decisions and we were able to talk about that kind of stuff. And actually, the discussion was around each of our mindsets at the time of the decisions, even if they were the same. Sometimes the mindsets were different, and then we all of a
Right.
sudden hit this one point in the story where all of a sudden shit just started kind of like splitting off and butterflying effect out in different ways, where things you did that didn't happen to me or things that I did that you never saw. So we were able to kind of talk about those things in ways that have been interesting in their own right? Because we've talked about
Right.
some of the differences in why we made those decisions, and then you've been able to have the luxury of 2020 hindsight to be able to say, well, here's kind of what you missed, or here's what was different when I played it through, without really spoiling the game. You've been able to kind of add a little bit of extra flavor to not only me but any of you guys listening at home. You kind of get to see some differences of how this game could play out, which has been far more than I ever thought. Hey, what's up, Proud Star in the room? How you doing, dude?
Yes.
All right. Cool.
Welcome,
He's got
man.
his game up. Proudstar's got his game up, so he's going to be able to walk us through some of the things that he did differently as well. So now
Oh, that's awesome.
we're having three people jump in to be able to have their story on what went down. So this is going to be awesome. I'm excited.
We highly encourage you guys to, if you're watching this live and you've played this game, load up the game, on the other side, pull up your choices, like the chapter that we're about to do. And by the way, we're entering mission 25 now, and Craig is pulling up actually the name of that one, the one
Yep.
we're about to do.
Midnight Train.
It's Midnight Train. What was the last one? Stratford Tower? I
That
can't
was
see it.
Public Enemy was the name of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
and so
right.
that was the one. So Stratford Tower was the actual That was the heist breaking in. Yep. And then Public Enemy was the one that we just played with Connor, which did not go well for me.
Yeah. So, as we always say, if you are jumping in this live, if you're watching live, that's cool. We will catch you up. If you haven't watched all our back episodes, you don't know what choices have been made. We'll give you a quick breakdown of where we are in the story, like really, really quick. For those of you, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, we've already uploaded it to YouTube, or on our our replay on Twitch or whatever, which we will upload to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/livemancave. If you are watching it, don't start with Mission 25. Go back, watch episode 1. The videos are long only because we talk a lot about what happened. As you could tell, like we're 5 minutes already into this and we haven't started playing the game yet.
Right.
But we do a lot of talking, and that's really the point of this. Like the reason we picked this game is this game inspires conversation. So this is kind of like a podcast that has the benefit of the illustration of the video game.
Yes.
But watch if you don't have time, obviously, most people are not going to have time to watch 24 back episodes of us like talking for 2 hours or an hour or whatever it is on each one. But at least go through to the video game plan. You can quickly do that by just dragging like the little cursor at the bottom across YouTube, so you get to the parts that look like video gameplay, and just watch the choices that Craig made. They're like 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay each mission, and it's just worth it. The story's good.
By the way, I just want to throw out there, you just saying that just made me realize, I started like the fake math was being done in my head, and I realized we have done almost as much in this game alone as we have done of regular podcast hours of Live from the Man Cave at this point.
Probably.
So we're at like 65% of what we've done of Live from the Man Cave, which is kind of insane, or 70%, something like that. So
because we've been doing our podcast for like 7 years or 8 years now.
Right. And this thing we just do 3 hours on 3 minutes of gameplay. So we're just trying to stack it with as much information.
A lot of crazy conversations, man.
Yes. Yeah.
We've been talking, life after death, civil policies, Android fucking, it all happens here.
Yes, we really go.
That should
we
be
go
on
down,
a t-shirt too. There you go.
It all happens. Android fucking. It all happens here. Live from the Man Cave.
Right.
So also, in case you think like that there's any hyperbole in all of that. This whole thing really is, what do we call this? This is like our rabbit hole podcast, like where we go down any rabbit hole that just kind of pops up. So the episode could literally be 2 minutes long, and it could just be a fucking walk through like an Android sex shop, and then we will go down some crazy fucking rabbit holes about what that could mean for the future of mankind and all this kind of stuff, and dating androids and all kinds of shit. But sometimes it's just as mundane as talking about the actual gameplay mechanics itself, and the way the puzzles, did we think they worked, did they land, did they not, that kind of stuff. So we kind of cover all the bases of purely what occurs in the game, down to the technical aspects of it, all the way out to the kind of greater ramifications. I think we talked once for an hour and a half just about one 3-page article that we read in one of the chapters, like that we walked through, picked up a magazine, read an article, and then talked about that for like an hour and 45 minutes or an hour and a half or something like that. So we'll see what happens on this one. Mostly probably just going to be me crying about Connor, because I'm really bummed out about that. Damn it!
All right, so we will get everybody caught up to where they need to get caught up. But first, I think Proudstar is keeping us on point here. He's bringing up brews. He's bringing up alcohol, which is what's very important to the show, right? Like, it's the easy description of the show is CraigMakk plays a video game while Serious Jest heckles him. Both of them drink.
Yes.
And Proudstar says he tried Stella Artois cider, which I recommended. As far as I do like ciders, hard ciders, and for me it's one of my favorites, just for the reason that he probably liked Strongbow better. I actually prefer them not to be too sweet, and I thought that Stella's like a lot more on the not sweet side than Strongbow is. But like to each his own. So I'm glad you enjoyed it somewhat, and I'm glad you're drinking. You got your drink that. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, glad to have you on. Glad to have you drinking with us. If you're watching this, even if you're watching the replay, I encourage you, grab a brew and drink with us in spirit. Nice. Let's do this. What are you drinking right now?
No, you go first. You go first. I want to hear you go first.
All right. So I'm going with the road less traveled, as
Okay.
the bottle proclaims. It is, I guess the brewery is Two
Two
Roads
roads.
Brewery.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and the brew itself is Workers' Comp Farmhouse Ale. So it says, the description says, farmhouse ales such as saisons were once used to compensate Belgian farm workers.
Nice.
Reward your taste buds with this pale and refreshing
awesome.
Belgian-style saison with a blend of harvest grains, barley, wheat, oats, and rye. Here's to talking the road, or here's to taking. Sorry, it's in cursive. Taking the road less traveled in life and in beer. That's a cool
awesome.
description, and I did not know that these Belgian farmers got paid in beer. That's pretty
Right.
cool.
Well, that is
So-
awesome, and I specifically like the idea that in our head, the term workers' comp is as just like it. You removed those two words separately, what they mean, and it just now workers' comp just means, oh shit, somebody got hurt, and then you're getting paid because you got
Right.
injured on the job, right? But you forget that it actually means compensation to the workers, right? And so it's funny that
Right.
when you describe it that way, you're like, oh, it's cool that like back in the day they were like, oh yeah, you work your ass off, and then we use some of the stuff that you bring in to brew you beer, and then we pay you back with that beer. I'm like, that's kind of an awesome little backstory, so that's cool. I'm excited to see how this one comes out.
Absolutely. All right, so it's only 4.8% alcohol.
There you go.
So this is probably going to be a more
It's a school
sessionable
night.
beer. It's got some, yeah, it's got some cool drawings. I guess it looks like a factory though. Like it doesn't look like a. I guess there's like.
That
No,
could
no,
just
it
be
looks
the
like a
image
building.
for Two Roads.
And then when you look at the neck, yeah, you look at the neck of the bottle, it actually has like a time stamp thing, like the old school where you would punch your
Punch
your time card
yeah,
out.
nice.
Yeah, and it's traditional end of the day reward is what it says. So I like the
Nice.
imagery. Who was doing the advertising on these beers? Good job, because it gave me the imagery, and I've had a long day, and I now deserve this beer I'm about to have. So
Perfect.
just popped it. Ooh, the smell that hits me is crisp, almost like a cider.
Really?
Yeah, like more. It's almost like I can't smell a lot of like the barley or the hops just from the neck of the bottle. So let's see what it tastes like. So this is, wow. This is I don't know. It's a cider. Or it's on my brain. It almost tastes like cider.
Oh
In
wow.
that you can't like. It's not the sweetness of the. I'm wondering if there's. So yeah, there's no fruit in it, but it's like really, really crisp, light, refreshing. Oh, this is good. I could drink this like sessionably, and it's not giving me that heavy feeling that drinking
Right.
a lot of beer. Like, well, I don't imagine. Well, I mean, I'll let you know when I'm a few into them and
Right.
see, But I feel
Does it
like I can
have your-
session the fuck out of these.
Does it have like the traditional kind of farmhouse ale? Like that kind of muskiness,
Yeah.
and almost. That
On the
you get a
back
little
end.
bit of that. Yeah, that's cool.
On the back end, it's a classic Belgian style saison farmhouse ale.
Yeah,
Yeah, on the back end, I feel I like it though. This is hitting the spot.
that's
I
awesome.
like I said, I've had a long day. I want to kick back, relax without getting sleepy or feeling like too full or whatever. And this is just like a, like that nice like citrus. Like when I opened it, it popped and almost like a little like moisture kicked out like a cider would. And I like this. This tastes good. Have you had
That's
this
very
before?
cool. I have not had that one. I've had other things by Two Roads, but I've never had that. So that sounds pretty good. It's funny because we've talked quite a bit on this show about our kind of our default is we have in recent years, I guess, fallen into a kind of a big brew mentality of like, if given the opportunity, you see, especially if you go to like a bar or something, you see a list of beers, you start looking for like the higher ABVs just because you're like, I want my money's
Right.
worth, right? But it is funny
Right.
that as of recently, I have actually had this moment of, as it started to warm up more and stuff like that, like I've started looking a little bit more for some of these, sessionable beers, because you've started to realize that good brewers can put really good flavor into a beer regardless of the ABV, right? It's like it doesn't have to be 9% to have good flavor. It may not be strong from an alcohol standpoint, but it can be very strong from a flavor standpoint. And so when you start realizing like, hey, as it gets nicer out and it stays lighter longer, and you want to have more times where you're like maybe sitting outside, with a friend by the fire pit, or by your girl by the fire pit or something like that, or just out on the deck as the sun goes down. and she's gonna have a glass of wine or a beer, and you want to have a beer. It's like you usually don't want to be like, man, I feel buzzed after like 1.5 beers, right? So there's that nice thing of finding a really good sessionable that has a real good taste to it, but you can actually have a couple of them and feel pretty good. Like I like that about it, and so I've actually started looking more for those. And this sounds like one that I feel, I could go outside, and while I'm grilling, for the family, I could be standing outside having a couple of those, and it'll taste good, but not actually put you on your ass.
Right. And and mine, so I'm a little bit of a different, I guess my SAUT experience is a little different. I actually like the feeling of like the taking the edge off the buzz, you're a little off balance, because I can lean into that. I'm like a person that's very like go kind of, and then like, so it's nice to when when you actually relax a little, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, so absolutely.
What I don't like as much anymore now in my older age is I still like the mind altering, the mood altering, even the balance altering aspect of getting drunk. I just don't like what it feels like on my body. And I've been lucky. I'm one of those people that I don't get hangovers. Like I like after I've drank, like I wake up the next day and I'm like ready to go. I don't have headaches. I don't have any of that shit. But I don't like the way beer makes my body feel. Like the heavy beers generally. Like it makes you feel, like when you eat a whole lot of pizza and you eat way too much and you're like, why did I eat that? That's how like a lot of
everything
like,
just feels sluggish and gross.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why, like, other than on this show, I mostly just drink liquor now. Like, in fact, I've been kind of like, getting like bartending here at home, like trying to recreate certain drinks and stuff like that back here for my wife, and so just because I just liquor makes me feel less sluggish and heavy and nasty, and and so
it definitely doesn't weigh you down to the same degree, because you also get to the point where you want to get faster with the less like less actual intake into your system, so you don't feel as heavy and it doesn't just like sit in your stomach like a brick, whereas obviously just by nature beer tends to do that to people more just because of what it's made from, right? I mean, half of it's like, it's like essentially bread, right, and dipped in water for the most part. I mean, in terms of what the components. So that's why a lot of people are like, oh man, I'd rather, given the opportunity, I don't like the way that like, the beer makes me feel kind of like sluggish and slowed down, but not because I'm drunk, but slowed down because I'm just like you said, it's like eating a ton of food and then feeling gross afterwards. So it's funny that you can kind of find there's a whole bunch of different ways, a whole bunch of different reasons why you can approach different types of beer, and that's why I think it's such a cool time now in terms of craft beer, that there are so many things you can have and try, and so many different approaches. Like whatever your mindset is, if you're like, man, I want to get like fucked up with something real good real quick, like you can go and get your like 13% or your 12%, and just go hard and heavy and get to the point you need to and have 2 or 3 of those and you're going to be a wreck, right? If you want to be like, I just want to warm up real fast, you can be like, I'm going to sip on this one that's like a 9%, but it's like it's real heavy taste, and so it's going to warm me up and feel like I'm sitting by a fireplace during winter time, you know what I mean? But then if you're like, I want to go outside and mow the lawn and I want to walk around, I'm not going to walk around with a glass of whiskey, so I'm going to have this like cool farmhouse ale that I can, it's 4.8. It's 10 times better than having a Miller Lite or anything like that. Yes. But it's also not going to get me shit-faced and saw my leg off in the lawnmower. So all things considered, that's going to be a good win for everybody. So I'm like, so it's like depends on your mood. You can go there, and hopefully, if you listen to Live from the Man Cave or you listen to this show at all, that's kind of what we've been trying to do, is almost be like a beer of the month club type thing. Like you get to find out about a new beer that maybe you've had before, and you can be like, I agree or disagree, but maybe you've never had it, and then you'll go and check it out and see if you like it yourself. I mean, we have definitely brought new beers to people on this show and through this podcast, just by kind of suggesting things that we've later heard from people. Oh, I went and got it and it was great, like Proud Star just said 5 seconds ago. But also we have learned from you guys too, about beers that we've never had that we've gone out and tried because of stuff that people have suggested in the room. Or I guess this is the perfect time to throw out real quick the Discord channel where we have our Discord server.
Yes.
That people can jump in there. It's just live from the man cave on Discord. We'll throw the room up in a second. You can go check that out. But that's a perfect place to come in and interact with us, interact with other fans. We have an entire channel just called like Beers of the Show where people just throw out what they're drinking and we put in there pictures of stuff we're having, and it basically turns into beer porn. But we have pretty much a channel for everything.
It is really like somebody will post a picture of like their beer with like it's nice, all the condensation is dripping down the sides, and like everybody like chiming in like, ooh yeah, that looks sexy. Oh yeah. I want that. You would think it's like a porn, like a naked woman on there.
Oh, absolutely. And then we'll actually have where people put in description underneath it, and you literally hear people just like, oh god, that sounds so good. And you're like, man, wow. I hope you're not at work, because the way you're acting like right now, people are gonna think you're jerking off at the computer. But it's like, hey, that's what the show is about, man. So we're here to bring some of this stuff to you guys, and hopefully you join up on the Discord channel after you listen to this. You can go in and talk about Ready Player 2, or you can just listen to the podcast itself, talk about that, or just kind of join to hear other people talking about, with like-minded ideas, just kind of coming in and talking about beer and stuff like that. But we're all over the place, so it's a super diverse place to hear what people are thinking. So that's pretty much it on my pitch for Discord. I guess other than that, we are ready to go.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, is it all right if I go down another rabbit hole?
Like, absolutely.
Like, is it just came to mind?
Many rabbit holes, yes.
Another rabbit hole before we get into the game or anything like that. And really quickly, I do want to say, Proud Star thought it was the Celebration of Women channel. Like, so he's saying, but for beer. Yeah, no. Yes. So you could celebrate women in the Celebration of Women channel, and then you could also celebrate beers on our Beers of the Show channel. We got something for everybody.
Yes.
And I will look out for that new TV show Proud Star recommended. New TV show in only 4 weeks called The Moonshiners Whiskey Business, with Tim Smith going around helping small breweries get back on track. That should be actually pretty interesting. Moonshine,
that does sound very cool. So. I have heard of that. It sounds awesome. It's one of those shows. Another big benefit to this show, or probably a disadvantage to the show, is that every single time I talk to you or anyone else, I learn about 5 new shows that I'm like, fuck, I gotta go watch these now. It's like we live in the the world of peak television right now, where there's like every day something new's coming on, and so it's awesome to find out about these new things that you can that's good stuff, right? Because it's like at this point, how often do you ever actually turn on like regular network television and find a show? That's like 1% of the time versus the number of times I find out about things that are on on the internet or on whatever. So sometimes a lot of this stuff that's on network television gets lost too, because you're spending so much time on Netflix or Amazon or HBO or this or that or whatever, that it's always cool when somebody pops in and says, yo, check out this thing on like AMC or TBS or whatever, that you wouldn't have even known, because half of us have probably cut our cable channels or don't even watch them or whatever. So that's pretty cool.
So here's the rabbit hole that I was going down. So I am looking forward to New Jersey is really teetering toward legalizing recreational marijuana. We technically, I don't know if you know this, we already legalized medical marijuana.
Medical, yep, yes.
So if I'm imagining that if you go in and and you're being treated for depression and stuff like that, you can get a prescription for weed and fill it at one of the 6 dispensaries that have been authorized. I don't know if all of them have been stood up, because the government, New Jersey government's been very bureaucratic and in actually setting up those dispensaries. So last I checked, only 3 of the 6 were set up. There was like 1 in North Jersey, 1 in Central, and 1 in South.
Right.
But I actually had like my first experience with a dispensary when I traveled to California recently, and it was surreal for somebody from New Jersey. Just how it works. And I'll be upfront. So like I was a dude that like I never smoked weed like ever throughout my entire life until like a few years ago at one of my boys' weddings. We went for his bachelor party and got our hands on some stuff, and I was like, fuck it, if I'm ever gonna try it, it's gonna be this time. So I took a few hits and nothing. Like I literally felt nothing. And I know how to like motherfuckers like a lot of times that happens because you don't know how to inhale properly. Like, trust me, like I smoked a lot of hookah. I smoked e-cigarettes before. I smoked I never really smoked cigarettes. Actually, I've never smoked a actual cigarette that wasn't like an electronic cigarette ever in my life, because I just have no interest in that. Like the smell is nasty to me. Right. I know the difference between how to pull on those versus how to pull on a cigar where you don't actually like inhale it, because I smoked a lot of cigars. Right, so I know what I'm doing when it comes to smoking. I definitely took this shit into my chest, right? And then like when I didn't feel anything, I took it to the point where I coughed, still nothing. So, and I've had that same, like I repeated that same experience like 3 other times where people brought in shit, like even they're like, oh, this is the good shit from California. And it's like, my boys are the connoisseurs on it. Like, this is that good shit. And I try it and they're like, nothing. Right. Like nothing. Like at the peak, it was like maybe a little bit of like maybe feeling a little lighter in the air, if you will, if that like right. maybe a little toward a lightheaded right. thing. So I don't know. And then I've read that like for some people that's just the case. That's just how it is. So like they've been recommending like if I want to feel it, try edibles, because edibles produce like a different enzyme than the THC, right? So when you take it to the edibles, it's 5 times more potent. So they were saying you should probably try that shit. So recently I went to California and I was like, I was driving around, I passed like a fucking dispensary there, right? So, and then I had like passed different smoke shops. So apparently there's a difference. Like you go into a smoke shop out there, right? The smoke shop is where you can get like your bombs, your like vaping, your vaping shit. Like you can get tobacco in there and shisha and all that stuff, but you can't actually get weed in there.
Right. It all says it's for tobacco use only and all that shit. They have signs all over the place. Like, even though clearly, yes, they know 99% of the people are buying all that shit to use for non-tobacco use, but they have to say that because they don't have the legal, authorization to sell.
Yeah, like we got a smoke shop up the street from my house here in Jersey, but obviously they're not selling weed out of there. Right. But so wait, Proud Star saying just be careful, don't think it won't affect me and eat. Yeah, so I heard that. I heard you'll regret that shit. I have heard the don't do like the fucking like they did in with the fucking Quaaludes in Wolf of Wall Street, where like I'm not feeling this shit. Let's take a bunch more, and then you end up I move my tongue. Right. But so I will be careful if and when I try the edibles. But I will say, so I went to California, I went into the dispensary, and I explained to them my previous. It was like having like a fucking weed concierge when you walk in there. They're like, and they call you a patient. They're like, the next patient, please, thank you. Are you a new patient with us? Oh, great. We're going to give you a free joint of our like hybrid strain. It's between indica and sativa. And like indica obviously is the shit that makes you like dopey. That's the classic weed that makes you like, let's watch cartoons and eat. And sativa is actually some shit that like makes you more alert and focused. Right. That's the shit like Joe Rogan like stays high on that shit. He said it helps him actually focus throughout the day. So they have like a hybrid of that shit, and I got like a free one of those just for being a new patient. And then I was like, I explained my situation. I'm like, look, in the past, I've never had an effect. I know how to pull. I know like I'm doing it right. You know what I mean? But I was like, I got a flight in the morning, so I don't want to like get on like get up in the morning like sluggish, like be dopey tonight to the point where I like miss my flight or some shit tomorrow. So they're like, all right, they're like, because if you want to test like your limit on whether this shit ever works, and like we got some really potent shit, but it's gonna be like indica indica heavy shit that'll fucking put you on your ass. And they're like, so but this shit, they're like, this shit's pretty good. It's a high, this is all sativa. It's got pretty good THC content. Like it should do the trick. So I smoked the entire fucking thing that I bought for $10 of their sativa shit, and then I also smoked the free joint they gave me. And at the height of the most I felt is when I was back in my hotel and I was walking down the hallway, and the hallway kind of did like a quick like imbalance. Yeah. Not like a loop, not like a full loop, but just kind of like when you're really drunk and you're walking down the hallway, and then like in the hallway starts to like use like a fun house.
So it's like a vertigo. Yeah, that vertigo you get where it feels like it slopes a little bit. Yeah.
Right. And I will say that, I don't know, maybe placebo effect, but I did feel like my mood was a little, lighter, like, you know what I mean? Right. So I was just thinking like, I do like the effect of being like the lighter mood. I don't want the room doing circles, but I like the little bit of imbalance of like the letting go kind of that you're getting from that. And I also didn't get any of the nasty effects of like when you drink it, like a bunch of beer and your stomach is sitting there, or even like alcohol sometimes will like make you dehydrated and all this shit. So I'm just thinking, I'm wondering what the impact will be once weed becomes legally available here in Jersey. What the impact will be on people that mostly rely on alcohol for their buzz, and now have like another alternative that's legal. Yeah. I'm thinking for myself, even like my liquor drinking maybe like I may not really have a need for 12%, 13% ABV if I could just, pop an edible or
Right.
smoke something that'll like give me the buzz that I'm looking for, and then I can have maybe like a 4.8% beer like this,
Right.
to just complement me and just something for me to be sipping on while I'm really enjoying the high.
Right.
From
Well, the
the
one thing
weed.
too on that, it comes down to also how much because for me, a lot of it is usually not the pursuit of just the imbalance part, but it's also that I just straight up enjoy the taste of beer, right? Which is why when I go to, like when I go to a bar or go to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, the first thing I'll look for if they have a pretty good beer selection is I'm like, do you guys have flights? Because I'm like, I want to check as many
Right.
boxes that you guys have here. It's not that I'm like, yo, give me that 13% and let me get drunk, but it's like, let me get 5 of these different ones and get like 3 or 4 ounces of each, because I just want to be able to try a whole bunch of different things and then be like, ooh, this is one that I really like. I'd like to have that again in like a pint. Or here's one that, okay, it wasn't great and now I only had 3 ounces of it and that's cool, right? So it's like, I don't necessarily know if it would offset that part for me, because obviously if you enjoy the taste of like a cool, some crazy new beer that you're like, oh man, I can't even imagine what that tastes like, I have to try it. You're not going to obviously get that from like an edible or even weed in general at all. But yes, on those days where
Right.
you're like, man, I just want to chill out after work or whatever, of course there's going to be people that are like, have a glass of anything, whether it's liquor, beer, whatever, they're having it because they just like, I just want to take a little bit of that edge off. When that's like your
Right.
primary goal, then yeah, you can obviously offset that with the weed. Versus if you're like, oh,
But
it's
for
kind of a
me,
two kill birds,
ABV
right?
is always. Yeah, that's what it like for me. I'm saying
Right,
like I definitely, I appreciate the tastes, but for me, ABV is part of that calculation. Like
right.
I could have a good tasting 4.8% or a fucking, good tasting 10%. I'm gonna go with 10% just because I like the shit that I like the way it's gonna make me feel, and I think it might take that part out of the equation for me, and I might just like
Then
you
you
might
could
see me
just
just say
try,
fuck
yeah,
it, no, I want the 4.8s that are not gonna sit heavy in my stomach. I'm
right.
gonna sit back, have this with some weed and be good.
Yes, and by the way, I decided that on the way down your rabbit hole, I saw a little side tunnel off the side of that rabbit hole that I just wanted to take us down that other rabbit hole real quick.
Nice.
This will be real fast, but I was just going to say this kind of piggybacks off of what you were saying and also Proud Star. But again, I'm also somebody I've never smoked weed before. I've never smoked cigarettes. It's just again it's just not a thing that I was ever into. I just
Have
never
you done
cared.
a hookah?
And I've actually never smoked anything. So I've never had anything.
Oh
I've never even
wow.
had
Yeah,
I've
we
never
should
had
do
a
hookah
cigar.
then one time
Yeah,
together.
I've been to
You
hookah
never had a
bars before.
cigar?
I've never had
Oh
a cigar.
fuck.
So
Oh, we got to remedy that.
Right, so it went down a certain part of my life, and it doesn't really apply to me as much anymore. But there was a certain point in my life where it was just like I've gone this far, like why
Yeah.
now, right? And so you just start to feel like this you've set this like arbitrary line for yourself, and then you just decide not to cross it because, I mean, if I didn't do it that time, why is today going to be the time, right? And then it's almost like when you have that
That's
really
me
nice
with
bottle.
tattoos.
Right.
I was like, I didn't
Yes.
have one by 25. I'm
Right.
not,
What,
there's
what's
no
going to
point
be
at
the
this
reason
point for
now,
me.
right? And so it's I always look at it the way when you have a really nice bottle of like wine or liquor or something that you got for it's going to be for a special event, and then nothing ever becomes the special event because you're always like, is today going to be the day I'm going to break it up? Maybe tomorrow is going to be a better day, and then you end up never doing it,
Right.
right? So it's kind of always been like that for me, but which is fine. And so I just kind of settled into
I
that.
had the same
that
thing
place.
going. I had the
Right.
same thing going just because, and for me, especially because I was like, back when I was younger, well, the Marine Corps, there's no way, you smoke weed, like, it's
Right.
the end of your career back then,
Right.
right? And then I still envisioned myself after the Marines having a government career that
Position,
still may
right.
have been like in one of the agencies like the FBI or the CIA, which didn't end up happening. So now I'm at the point where I'm like confident that's not a road I'm traveling down anymore.
Right.
So I might as well. And a lot of seniors, actually, it's funny, like a lot of people late in life, there's a lot of articles on this, a lot of seniors in life, people who have never smoked weed ever in their life, and they get to like 60 or 70 and they're
yeah.
dealing with chronic pain, they're turning to it like,
right.
oh fuck.
I was going to say I could see, especially when you were talking about the medicinal side of things, like the idea of the benefit that weed has on for pain is like a
Yep.
thing that now I've fully come to grips on. Like the moment that shit became becomes legal for like for medicinal purposes, like yeah, fuck it, because there's going to be times where I'm just like, well, my back just hurts for no reason now, so let me just start smoking this weed. And like if it's a dual benefit of you can like chill out and relax and feel better and like less pain and stuff like that, I'm like that's kind of seems like it'd be awesome. Like that seems like the perfect win,
Right.
you know, across the board. But the reason why I brought that up was specifically because oh, there goes Proudstar, by the way. Been a smoker since 15. I should probably quit though. LOL. Yeah, maybe. I don't know what that means.
Why? Like,
I don't know if you're talking about.
Actually, I've heard Joe Rogan, not to like reference other podcasts and their conversations because you can go listen to theirs, and I don't want to like hijack their shit, but but Joe Rogan talks about that a lot. Like weed, you can, even he says, who's a big proponent of it, you can overdo it. You can overdo it to the point where like it, not necessarily because you're like biologically addicted to it, but like your mind is
yeah.
There's
so that's why I didn't
your mind
know
is
actually
using it as an escape.
Right.
Is that why Proudstar?
Is Proudstar also referring to being a smoker of cigarettes or weed? Because obviously that would be a different question. Like I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Just
cigarettes, you definitely need to quit.
Right.
Cigarettes,
really
you
should certainly quit immediately. Yeah, and to your point, that's the same thing as like there's like no problem with like playing video games all the time, right? But if you just do it to escape from like your regular life, and so you don't have to deal with like your family or your job and shit like that, like anything overdone can become escapism in a negative point.
I've definitely been guilty of that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we're fucking doing a thing right now where we're 35 minutes in and we haven't even started playing the game yet. So we're clearly down that road. But also, the reason why I brought it up, again, because I've gone down so many extra rabbit holes on top of my original rabbit hole, I actually did once go to a party where everyone was hanging out and we're all like, just chilling and everything like that. And there's like fucking tons of food and everyone's drinking beer and it's like whatever, and like some dude comes in like to the party and whatever, and he just like lays down this whole fucking huge tray of like brownies, and I was like, dude, that fucking looks amazing. I'm like, I got a little buzz going on, like I just ate like fucking like a meatball sandwich and fucking 2 slices of pizza because I was a fat pig or whatever. So I'm like, I'm gonna have one of these brownies, and I just fucking wolfed that thing down, dude. I it felt like 5 minutes later, I don't really know, but like I was fucking in the bathroom, standing in front of the sink, washing my face, feeling like I was having a heart attack. I felt every single heartbeat pulse through my entire body, and I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Like I got to get out. I think I'm fucking dying. Like I need to call 911. I turned to get out of the bathroom, and I turned into the wall. So this is a bathroom, the regular fucking size of a bathroom. It's not large. This is a hotel. This is also a bathroom. By the way, let me just explain. Also, this is in an apartment in New York City, so it's even smaller than like a regular person's.
Shit, yeah,
I turn to the wall where there's just like the towels are hanging up, and I'm like, oh fuck, CraigMakk, what's wrong with you? Like the fucking door is on the other side. Put water on your face. What's wrong with you? I'm freaking out. I'm like, all right, I gotta get out of here. I gotta tell my boy I gotta get out of here. I turn to leave again. Back into the towel rack again. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I can't get out of the bathroom. I'm freaking the fuck out. I'm like, oh God, I gotta get my phone out and I gotta call him, but I left my phone in the fucking party room. So I'm like, I can't even call him. Okay, let me put water on my face. I'm freaking out. What the fuck? So then finally, I turn again. This shit happens to me 4 times. I cannot get out of this fucking bathroom. I finally figure it out. I sit down on the only way I figure it out, by the way, is I sit down on the floor with my back to the door, and I just reach up with my hand above my head and open the door that way, because I was like, if I turn again, I'm gonna get all fucking twisted and I'm not gonna be able to get out of here again. And it was weird because it wasn't like when you're drunk and this is obviously stupid to anyone who, yeah, Proudstar, LOL, poor Craig. To anyone who smokes weed or whatever, yeah, whatever, you understand this. But to me, never having any experience like this, it wasn't like when you're drunk and you're like, I'm just goofy and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm like, I can't get out of bed because I'm fucking drunk and tired, or like, I can't get my shoes off because I don't fucking know how to use my body. This was like hyper aware that this situation was happening, but not aware enough to be able to like figure my way out of the bathroom, right? So it was like terrifying because I thought I was like, this must be a stroke. Like this must be when your brain just fucking says, go fuck yourself, I'm dying now, right? Like this, like say goodnight to everyone, CraigMakk, you're about to die at a fucking WrestleMania party. Like that's how I fucking thought my life was going to end, which was a bummer, right? So it wasn't actually a WrestleMania party, but WrestleMania was on, so I guess that's in the background. So anyway, I finally reach up, I open the door, I fall backwards out, right? Because I opened the door and just leaned my way out. I'm like, yo, buddy. Like I yelled at my friend. I'm like, yo, buddy, you got to come over here for a minute. And he's like, oh, I'll be right back. And he like walks in and I sit up and he like comes in. He's like, what's going on? I was like, dude, I think I'm fucking dying. Like I don't know what's wrong with me, but I feel my heart, but everywhere. and I can't figure out where I am or how to get out of this room. And he's just like, wait a minute, did you have one of those brownies? And I was just like, yeah, but I mean, why are you fucking talking about that? Like, it was really fucking good. But, like, I think I'm having a heart attack. You need to call, like, 911.
What did that have to do with anything? Yeah, the brownies were good. Why, did you make them? Did you make them? They were good, dude. Just stop worrying about that.
Right. I was just I mean, are you asking me for, like, your opinion on your fucking brownies right now? Like, is that really the thing we're doing? Even though, obviously, he didn't make them. But I was like, are you fucking, like, really asking me about that? And then he's just like, oh, dude. And it was, in a way that I just want to say is the most loving way that a guy two guys like friends for years can bond over this moment where he's like, oh, you're just so adorable, let me help you through this. And he just put his arm around me and he's like, so CraigMakk, here's what's happening, you're okay now, I'm gonna talk you through it, let's go back and hang out with everybody, and like it's gonna be chill once you fucking know what's happening. And so like he literally did, like it was like
that's
fucking...
a nice guy, because I would have been tempted to tell you were in heaven or purgatory.
What's it like, Craig, up there, Craig?
Actually, Craig, you're in purgatory. I'm just your spirit guide. All right, you have to choose a door out. One of these walls is the way into heaven. All three of the others drop you directly into heaven.
You failed.
Choose wisely, Craig.
Right, yeah. So yeah, and thank God it didn't happen with you,
Just through the wall. You would have bust through the wall that you want.
I probably would have had a heart attack had I done this with you, because it would have been fucking terrifying. So yeah, so that's my story. So yes, to Proud Star's standpoint, yes, you are correct, dude. If you think you can just house one of those, you will not do well. It is fucking horrifying, especially if you don't know what you're getting into. So holy shit,
Craig
that was
high and put him in a wet paper bag. That's
yes, I would still be stuck in there. Just I'd probably just be crying, making it more wet, so I'd be even more difficult to get out of it, because I would not figure my way out. It'd be fucking miserable. Thank you, Proud Star, for laughing at me.
I'm glad to hear though that you got off of like the opioids and went to the fucking weed. Is much better for you, but you know, big pharma doing their thing to keep pushing the painkillers. Also. Yeah, I don't know, Proud Star, you're welcome to visit, but why would you want to come out to the East Coast for weed when you're probably in Arizona? You guys have medical marijuana, by the way. I bet you do know that. Hopefully you know that. So you can get it prescribed if you fill out like a physician form or whatever, and then you can get a license to carry up to like 2.5 ounces out there in Arizona. But you have like California right there. You have all these states in that area that you could always get better shit than you could probably get out from here from. So I always consider you lucky. And who knows, by the time that like Jersey's done with it, they'll probably do some fucking stupid shit like put limits on the THC and all that.
Yeah, they'll ruin it.
I thought you were in Arizona for some reason. Oh, it's Indiana. Okay. All right, my bad.
Oh, well then that's way worse. Okay. Yeah, come out to Jersey then. Man, you're screwed. Sorry. I'm sorry, Proud Star.
So I do got to say, Craig, all of this time we've been talking about all this stuff and going down rabbit holes, and I did feel kind of bad because we still don't know what you're drinking, and I bet you're like ready to crack that shit open. So I'm sorry.
I know. No. So if you remember, there was a point in time before you went down your first rabbit hole that I was like, hey, we just covered the Discord channel, so I guess we're ready to go. Let's get this game started. Yeah. So it was me that was going to bypass it first. And there's a very important reason for that, Jess. And that reason is, you will find out, the reason is, I'm just going to lay it all out just so you know. So I am getting ready to go on vacation in about a week and a half, right? So I'm going away. We're all excited, whatever. I have once again gotten suckered into by my wife. This is not a dry month thing or anything like that. But we are doing this fucking horrendous cleanse thing where it's basically just shakes and shit for a week before we go away. So I got suckered into that shit. So what I am drinking tonight, is I am drinking
kind of ass water.
This is some pink grapefruit ass water.
Oh my god!
So let me hear it pop it open for you guys. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm not even gonna go with the joke anymore. It's garbage. This is terrible. I apologize, but I figured if I made you hold off to do another.
The first time we made it a funny thing, but pink grapefruit.
Yeah, it's actually really good. It's actually really delicious, but. It is ass water. It is fucking terrible and 0% ABV. So come Friday, I will be able to jump hard and heavy back in and put on whatever weight that I potentially lose in time for this amazing vacation. Just show up on the beach like a fat fuck. But that's how I do it. So Yep. So that's it. So that's where I'm
All
at.
right.
So yep.
On that note,
so let's change it to
party
Welcome to Ready Player 2, where one jerk drunkenly plays video games while the other one just sits there sobbing into his ass water. Ah, fuck.
Oh, gross.
Yep.
Gross.
All right, gross.
That's
where
let's
I am.
do this thing.
You
So,
ready to go?
all right, let's catch them up real quick.
Yep.
So far, Kara,
Mhm.
basically rescued little girl from her abusive father.
Oh, shit.
And what's the name of the little girl again?
That is Alice.
Alice, right? And so they basically Kara fights the dude off. They run. They take comfort in this what they thought was like a safe house, and it turns out to be another dude that's trying to reprogram them and do horrible things to them. So they escape him, pick up this new friend. What's the name of the big dude again? Not Leon, right? Not Leon.
Oh man, shit.
Well, we'll know
figure it
soon
out
enough.
in a minute,
You'll see in the game. And then they keep stay on the run. Connor, the android who works for the police has been kind of chasing them as well, along with other androids who have
Not
gone
anymore.
rogue.
He's not.
Well, yeah. In the last episode, Connor was shot up pretty badly, so it looks like he's dead. But we'll see.
Luther.
And,
Thank you, Brownstar. Luther.
Luther, thank you. Yes, that's why you're here, man. You help us out when we're too drunk or disgustingly affected by ass water in some way. So anyway, Kara and Luther hole up in this place called Pirates Cove, which is an old amusement park. The snow's coming down, so they kind of take refuge there, and then they run into a bunch of I forgot what their names were.
Yeah.
But
hey, Proudstar.
the androids. Yeah.
Tell us that.
The androids that used to. Yeah, the androids that used to run the amusement park.
Yep.
And it turns out that they're actually friendly. They thought they were going to be in a standoff with these guys, but they're pretty friendly.
I didn't realize that's the
where we
last
are now.
episode we played with her was that Pirates Cove. So
Yeah.
so we're
That was
still
like 3
stuck
episodes
back
ago.
out there.
Actually,
Yeah.
no, more.
No, that's way more. That's
More.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes ago. So
Wow.
yeah, so a lot of shit happened between. It was all Connor and what's his name? What the fuck is the other dude's name?
Marcus.
Connor and Marcus. Yeah, Connor and Marcus since then. So, all right, so we're jumping into Midnight Train, which looks pretty. The background of the episode, it looks like the sun setting or rising. So we're about to jump.
I
into
like this
that.
episode a lot.
All right, that means I'm probably gonna kill somebody. Any episode you like means that's when I fuck up. All right, you ready to go? Here we go. I'm going to take a sip of this while this loads, and then we are going to kick it off with Midnight Train, Kara. And it sounds like a DJ right there. We're going to play some Midnight Train. It says, Jesus.
Yeah, right?
All
Midnight
right.
Train to Georgia.
Right. Let's see. The Jerry's. Thank you. He nailed that one, too.
Yes,
The
damn.
Jerry's. Good
on
call.
point,
He's fucking
man.
killing. He's
On
like our
fucking
fucking
point.
producer right now, coming in our ear,
Hell yeah.
like giving us all the shit we can't remember. Thank you, Proud
Well,
Star.
I'd rather he not come in my ear, but
Okay.
but
All right. Let's see what's going on here. Disgusting.
please don't come in my ear, Proud Star.
Rose's
Please
Farm,
don't.
natural honey of the pumpkins? Or did I say it disappeared before I could read it? All right. Oh, wow, it's snowing. Oh, cool. I like this.
Organic pumpkins, not of the pumpkins.
What did it say?
Natural honey and organic pumpkins.
And organic pumpkin. Oh, because it was covered on my screen. That's why I couldn't read it.
Oh, okay.
So I just saw the O and then pumpkins. All right, check backyard.
All I need is the word artisanal on there somewhere, and then it would have been complete hipster place.
Let's see. This is now my thing. I do this every time.
Rabbit hole, gross,
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, serious wrong rabbit hole. Nice. All right. There's that lady over there, or person. Oh, man, I love the snow. It looks pretty here. It's cool. Oh, they got the footprints and
Definitely
everything.
graphics on here are dope as fuck. Yeah.
This car.
Hello?
Car is awesome. Nope.
I'm looking for Rose. Is she here?
I don't remember
What do
the
you want
Rose
with her?
thing, though. What's that about?
I need to talk to her.
She doesn't want to talk. Go away.
I don't know. I don't think we ever. Did the Jerry suggest? Actually, I think the
Please, I
Jerry
really
suggested
need
it.
to see
Yeah.
her.
Okay.
So they were like,
I'm
she was
Rose.
saying, we need help. We need to get out of here.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
So Rose is supposed to be somebody
I was
that can help
told you
them
could
get
help
across the
us.
border into Canada.
Help
That's
you?
what they
Okay.
suggested.
Gotcha. Oh. Nice. Oh, there's Luther and Alice. All right.
Come on. It's better if we talk inside.
Cool. That guy is ice grilling us right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, she saw the baby. She couldn't refuse.
Yeah. And
You think we
also,
can trust him?
big ass Luther. Let's say trust. Let's
I don't have a
trust.
choice.
Yes. I believe we can, Luther. Let's go for it. Let me talk to her.
You okay?
It's gonna be
Close,
okay.
Clara.
Let's get
We'll get
inside.
inside. You'll warm up in no time.
She just said we're gonna go inside, and then she's like, "I'm cold." I love when they hold hands. It's cool. How like when you get close to her, she automatically grabs your hand.
Yeah.
Come in.
I've like definitely freaked out in this game where I was like, "Oh God, they're not holding hands. I gotta go back and get her." Like when I walked fast away from her. Remember when we were on the
What's your
city
name?
streets?
Right.
Eh.
Right.
She's running a fever.
I also
no.
love like how they have different like like body builds for characters.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, look on this screen alone, right? You have a kid, like a smaller woman,
Adam,
obviously Rose
will you show them
larger, and then you have
upstairs?
Luther gigantic. Like
Yeah.
they show you how they have all the different kind of types of characters. Because usually you play a lot of games and there's like one version, unless it's a game that is like everyone is like you know what's it called, like Gears of War, where everyone's like a muscle beefy monster, right? And so like this game
Right.
actually is like no, people come in like different shapes and sizes, and that's pretty normal, and it actually adds to your immersion in the game. Oh, I can't look at that magazine yet. Okay, I guess not. It adds to the immersion of belief. You know what I mean? Because you see like
Right.
people that look like people you see in real life. Oh, it's Christmas. I love it.
Like Rose got a fat ass.
Yeah. Look at that. Oh, as somebody who loves Christmas, these are my favorite parts of any game that takes place during Christmas time. I love it. It fucking makes me so immediately so happy. What did I have to do? Follow him upstairs. All right, Adam. They even got the fucking shit around the banister. That's cool. Big Mama's house. Proud star. All right.
The hell. I gotta say, I kind of don't mind her figure. She's not like gross big. She's a
No.
little. She's thickness.
She's doing what she needs to do. All right, let's see. What am
Kind
I
of
supposed
woman
to
that
do?
can
Put Alice to
envelop
bed.
you with her love.
Yeah. Nice. All right, Alice, let's do it. Take off her shoes. We're back to babysit the game. Undress Alice. This is weird. All right.
Babysit the game.
Why do they have to call it Undress Alice?
Well, you undress a kid, you get him ready for bed.
Yeah, just,
I guess
they
they
could have
could've
just
just
said
said,
take
"Get her
her jacket
ready
off."
for bed.
Yeah, right. Get her ready for bed. It feels way less weird.
Nah.
Proud Star. No, we knew. He said that's the movie I thought about. It wasn't a bad comment. I got it. I didn't think you were making fun of her. I knew the Big
I don't
Mama's
think I ever
House
seen
reference.
Big Mama's house.
Neither have I.
We can't
I
stop
remember
because
seeing it though.
It's on Martin, right?
Yes.
Maybe I did. I think I did see it.
Feels like a bad
You
version
need
of
rest.
a
Get a good night's sleep.
Martin
and
Lawrence
we'll set
movie
off
probably.
again tomorrow.
Why
Yeah.
do humans hate us?
It's not one of his big
We didn't do
movies.
anything wrong.
Oh. Man.
Humans are complicated. Sometimes it's difficult to understand them.
Why can't we just talk to each other?
Aren't you?
They'd see we're not bad.
Here we go. Let's say I'm gonna do optimistic. You're a kid. I like you.
Maybe one day we will.
I don't know what you like, but I made you Rose's world-famous spaghetti. You'll be back on your feet in no time.
Rose
There's
seems
something
cool.
for her fever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll get these washed and dried.
Oh man, is Monster Luther just gonna sit and just
Sleep
watch her
tight.
like a badass like knight? He's just gonna stand over like
We'll be
I'll
downstairs
fucking
if you
murder
want.
anyone who comes
Security
near you.
guard.
Yeah. Luther just became close. Nice. Oh yeah, he is. Wow, he's baller. He's just gonna stand over. her.
Tomorrow, you'll be stronger than me.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll stay with her a while.
Thanks, Luther. You're cool as hell. Man, remember when he was terrifying the first time? When he's just like hunting you like a Terminator, and then now he's like the coolest fucking like security guard ever. I'll walk around up here. Is there anything else I can do? No. No, not in there. It's kicking in. Part of my brain that's like, ooh, there's doors. I have to try to open them.
Easter eggs.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe I'll find Connor's dead body. Fick! Let's see.
I just noticed the banner at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Well played.
There you go.
I didn't get your name.
It's
I'm
Cara.
Kara.
It's your fault, Craig.
This is
It
my
is my
son,
fault.
Adam.
It is my fault. I'm sorry.
I'm Rose, but you know that already. Come and have a seat, Kara.
It's Cara, damn it. You should call me Cara.
So are you gonna tell me what a deviant's doing in the snow with a little girl?
Ooh.
Her father was beating her. When I saw what was happening,
Probably fucked
something
up.
snapped
Every
inside
time I've
me.
trusted somebody, they've gone
all of a
against me,
sudden
but
I
I
felt
feel
like
like
her
she's
life was more
cool.
important than mine.
And I feel like
I
Cara,
had to protect her.
Cara is very,
So we ran away.
like, idealistic.
I understand.
Right.
We're not the first ones to come here.
These past few weeks, we've seen more and more. I don't know what's going on, but
So
something
this is
happened.
basically like Underground Railroad.
Why are you helping us? Most humans hate androids.
My people were often made to feel their lives were worthless. Some survived, but only because they found others who helped
Nice.
them along the way.
That's cool.
We've heard you help androids cross the border. Can you help us?
The only way is over the river, and it's mostly frozen in winter. It's very risky. And after that android speech on TV, everybody's
yeah,
on edge.
that was Marcus.
It's probably safer for you to stay
You should
here
go back and
until
watch that
things settle
episode if
down.
you have not seen that yet. That's a cool one.
We can't keep hiding like this. Alice
Being
needs
able to
feel safe and have a
decide what
normal
his
life.
speech was and what order and everything, that was cool as shit.
We have to get across that border. No matter what.
Here we go. Let's go for it, Rose. Come on, Rose. Step
Please.
up.
You've got to help us.
Rose, come quickly.
Oh no, who's that? What the fuck was that? Why did you walk in so weird? Anything else in here? What? What? Fuck. Fick. Can I talk to that guy? No. Check what's going on. What's going on? Can't remember how to run.
Is that L1?
No, L1 just looks behind you.
She just shut down.
Oh shit. Oh no.
We escaped together. We used to talk about what we would do once we got across the border. I loved her. I loved her more than anything. What will I do without her?
No running in the
No
house,
running in
Craig.
the
Sorry. Oh, RA9. RA9 will show us the way.
Let's let them be.
Why there's writing on this lady's house? That's
I
fucked
know.
up.
Yeah, dick. She's just helping you out, and you start fucking scribbling on her wall.
Alice?
She's running out of blue blood.
You should be resting.
I wasn't sleepy.
It's okay.
She's a little kid.
She didn't want to stay in her room any longer.
Ah.
You
She's
all
like,
right,
I'm cold,
Cap?
but I'm gonna walk around in just a
Yes.
fucking tiny t-shirt.
I'm fine.
It's not gonna help you get over your fever. Alright, let's go. Where's Rose? Is she back in there again?
We can't hide them. Not after what those deviants did today. It's too dangerous. Do you know what will happen if the police find them here? We'll go to prison, Mom. Do you understand me? Prison!
Adam! We've already talked about this.
No! I won't back down this
Underage casual
time.
guy? Is that what his shirt says?
You're gonna ruin our lives, and for what? For a bunch of machines?
They are not machines! They are alive!
I'm alive! You're alive! They're nothing!
Wow. Oh, he's a dick.
And none of this would be happening if Dad was still here.
I will not stand for that kind of talk.
I'm not going to prison because you want to help these freaks.
That is enough, Adam! That's
What a
enough!
dick. Oh, he's annoying. He's like literally sitting here seeing them, and he's still saying shit like that. I understand people that aren't like around them, you know, that don't know.
Don't mind him.
Yeah, but he's kind of like, we got our own problems, and you're putting us at risk.
Sometimes
Yeah, no, I get
I
that
can
part
see
of
it.
it. Actually, that part I agree with, but the whole thing of like
hard.
these freaks,
Since
it's like,
his
come on,
dad
now you're
passed
being,
away.
Yeah.
you know, you're projecting at that point.
But he's a fine boy. I'll go see about getting you across the border tonight, okay?
Just go ask Adam for help.
You stay here. I won't be long.
Why is she dressed like she's on Star Trek? Now I get to finally read that fucking magazine. There you go. I've been trying. Ooh, World War III. Who would win it? Bonus culture. Why bankers pay themselves so much. Is President Warren too close to cyber life? Let's see. Let's read through. And as you guys know, if you've been watching, but we just kind of burn through these real quick. You don't read them, and then we will go look at them after the fact. Oh wait, this one is not an article. $8.99 designed by. Oh, okay. That's just a weird. That's weird. Okay, that's it. It's just that one article. It's just World War III. Am I fucking up right now? Oh God, Jess, is this the time where it's going to happen to me, where I only read one of the articles and I make fun of myself? All right, I'm out of here. I did it. I looked. I tried. I did everything I could. Talk to Adam. Let's see. No, don't go look at that, you weirdo. What's up, Luther?
I hope Rose gets back soon.
Carol,
He calls her Kara.
there's something I need to tell you. It's about Alice.
Not now, Luther.
What? He obviously was important.
The police. It's the police.
You're the worst.
What are we gonna do?
Wait, what? Why are you doing this to me right now?
And they know we're here. We have to open the door. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew it.
What the fuck? Oh no.
Hurry, Luther.
No.
Take Alice and hide
Okay, good.
in the laundry room.
That's good enough.
Come on, Alice.
20 seconds left. Oh, there's evidence right there. What? Look. Oh God.
Just keep calm, Adam, and everything will be all right.
Looks Looks like I did everything here that I can. Alright, let's go for it. Yeah, we're going for it.
Good evening, ma'am. Sorry to disturb you. We've had reports of androids in the area.
Oh
With
god,
all
this
this
is terrifying.
deviant business going on, you can't be too careful. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Oh, don't pause like that.
6 seconds.
May I come in?
Of course.
What'd you say?
Oh,
Evening,
like
ma'am.
6 seconds left.
Yeah.
That was
Good evening.
Yeah.
clutch.
I got real down to the last second. Don't be weird, Adam. Be cool, honey bunny.
Would you like a cup of coffee?
I'd love one. Have you noticed anything unusual recently? Any unexpected visitors?
No. No, nothing in particular.
Is anyone else in the house?
There's my daughter. She's asleep upstairs.
You know, why would you say that? Just put her in the fucking laundry room.
Why did you do that? Why did you select Alice?
I don't know, because I got scared that I figured he would find. And she's a person at least.
Do you have any
Oh,
androids?
yeah.
So I was like, oh, I didn't hear the question. Fuck.
No, there are no androids
Oh, okay.
here.
All right, I can't talk right now. I have to listen to what he says.
You said, do you have any androids? Yeah, that was the
didn't-
question I asked.
Yeah, I figured that after I just guessed an answer. What are you doing, dude? Just have some of your goddamn coffee. Don't arouse suspicion. You're being so weird, officer.
Thanks.
Drink your fucking coffee, weirdo. Cool. This would just be annoying even if you didn't do anything wrong. A cop just being weird like this.
Yeah.
Looking around your house like a fucking creepo.
I wouldn't like it very much.
Like, yeah, like this is why people don't like police officers, because they're fucking like this. When you're like, okay, if you think there's an issue, say it. If you don't, then get the fuck out.
What's your name, son?
Don't fuck it up, Al.
Adam. My name is Adam.
Is everything all right, Adam?
The androids, they...
He needs a rest. He's been working in the garden all day.
Do you know anything about deviants? Have you seen any?
No. No. I haven't seen anything.
Okay, get the fuck out.
I better go. Thanks for the coffee. Have a nice evening.
Oh, what?
Is somebody else in the house?
It's nothing. The washing
Oh, I
machine.
shouldn't have said that. She's in the laundry
an
room.
old one.
Fuck! Why did I do that?
Sorry for the inconvenience.
Oh, okay, thank God.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, Adam.
Oh, that scared the shit out of me. Thought I fucked that up in the last one.
He's gone.
It's okay, Alice. We'll be safe now.
Proud star, you dick. Oh, well,
Rose.
you're okay, Craig. Maybe. Huh, the cop didn't like to see her
I mean-
walking up to the house.
Yourselves ready.
If anybody was in danger, it was probably the cop.
Yeah, it's true. Luther would have fucked his ass up. Alright, I made it! I made it! Nobody else is gonna die right now, as far as I can tell. Wow, there's a lot of shit in there. Alright. Oh, trophy earned. Nothing to see here. There we go. Got another trophy.
Well done.
Alright, that one went 60% completed. Alright. I feel good about that one. That was fucking tense as shit.
Mine was 60% as well.
Nice.
But we did some stuff different.
Okay, I'm excited to see that because that one felt like it had a bunch of different, potential options on the table, so things could have gone differently. Proud Star, 56%. All right. So we all came pretty close to one another. Obviously, you and
Yeah.
I are the same, and then he's pretty close, so that's pretty good. As
Yep.
we always do at this point, we kind of just break through the flow chart, the butterfly effect chart afterwards. So we'll just dive into this just so everyone can see. Obviously, like we said, 60% completed, Midnight Train. We always read through the public opinion is still indifferent, so we have not yet, even though he's like, the public's on edge, apparently, according to this, public opinion still pretty indifferent towards deviants. Alice now is family to me, basically, so I've gotten her obviously as high as I guess you can go, or at least as high as I have up to this point. She's only gone up, and Luther has gotten up to trusted, which was where Alice was before. And then we always pretty much switch over to the world stats so we can see the decisions that I made and that you guys made as compares to what the rest of the people who have played this game have done. And by the way, when did this come out? Last summer?
I think so. I think that's accurate.
All right, so we have roughly about 9 or 10 months or so, depending on when it came out, of people having played this game. So those world stats are pretty fleshed out, right, in terms of people having played it. We have a pretty good idea what the percentages will be at this point. So we'll see, what I did compared to that. So you want to dive into it, or is there anything else you want to talk about first?
Let's dive right in.
All right. So bring up the world stats. Here we go. So 99% of people arrive at Rose's place. So I guess there was 1% of people.
Sorry, Craig.
Yes.
May 25th, 2018 is when this
May 25th.
was released.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Yeah. So we have
Almost a full year.
Yep, almost a full year of people having played this game, which is cool. Gives you a pretty good idea of when you see these percentages. It's not like we played it 2 weeks after, right, where 99% could be 5 of the 6 people or whatever. Like now we know it's a shitload enough people, and we've actually talked about on the show. They came out and said something like X number of millions of copies sold. It was like his best-selling game, so this game did pretty well. So people have played it quite a bit. So I'm guessing, based on this right here, this must relate to the fact that there's a 1% of people where maybe Kara already died or something changed in their story where she never even got to Rose's place because they did something differently, right? Because it says 99%.
I'm sorry, really fast, because you said it, I looked it up immediately. Detroit Become Human reached, this is according to Wikipedia. So I'm looking at the reception of it. It said Wikipedia says it was generally favorable.
Yep.
Detroit Become Human reached 5th place on the UK chart after 2 days of release.
Right.
In its first week, it topped both the overall sales and console sales charts. It sold fewer copies than Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain in that region. Cage and executive producer Guillaume de Fandemer claimed Detroit Become Human was the studio's most successful launch yet. The NPD group later confirmed it had a sales growth in excess of 20% over Heavy Rain. It was the 3rd best-selling video game overall, generating the 3rd most revenue in the U.S. and sold the most out of any title on the PlayStation Store in May 2018, having been available for 6 days. And then it's done a bunch of stuff like in Japan. So 2 months after release, a total of 1.5 million people had played the game. It has sold more than 2 million copies by that December. Of 2018, so last year, approaching 3 million the following month.
Yeah.
And then accolades-wise, just so you know, in 2018, it won the Independent Game Developers Association Awards for Best Action and Adventure Game, Best Audio Design, Best Social Game. It won Ping Award for Best Console Game, Grand Prize, Best Graphics, Best Screenplay, Best Soundtrack. I'm sorry. So it only won Best Console Game, Grand Prize, and Best Graphics for the Ping Awards, and it was nominated for the others. Right. Nominated for Independent Game Developers Association Awards. Brian Descartes won Best Performer at the Golden Joystick Awards. And PlayStation Game of the Year was nominated for at the Golden Joystick Awards.
Yep.
I think nominated basically a bunch of shit, but Best Video Game won. I'll tell you what it won for. Won Best Video Game at L'Étoile du Parisien, and it won won RPG of the Year for the Australian Games Awards. It won Animation Technical.
It RPG, but
yeah,
that seems like they tried to fit it in somewhere. Yeah. Right, in the strictest sense, right. It's not a game where you're like leveling up and like adding points to your, your sword play and like strength and stuff like that in the way that a typical RPG would be. But I guess I would consider it more like an adventure game, but I guess they just kind of had to fit it in somewhere, right? So it's kind of a little bit of a cross-genre game.
and it keeps getting nominated all these. So I'm not going to talk about the nominations. There's just so many. But the animation technical won at the NAV GTR Awards. The original dramatic score for new IP won at the NAV GTR Awards. It won use of sound, new IP, NAV GTR Awards. It won excellence in narrative at the SXSW Gaming Awards. So yeah, Southwest, right? And then the best origin instrumental Cars main theme won at the Gang Awards, GANG Awards. So this is one for different things, like across the board.
Right.
Like it's one, like the best like overall game. It won best graphics, best performer for Brian Descartes. That should have made you happy. The like just the soundtrack, the just a lot of different stuff. So very well done all over the place.
Yeah. And
sorry for jumping in, but I just thought that was really interesting.
No, that is cool, and the thing that actually makes me the happiest out of all those things that you named, of all those huge awards,
the
thing that makes me realize, well, no, that too, but the thing that makes me happiest to know that we are onto something, and that we're not, us playing this in Ready Player 2 when we first were like, well, playing this game, Ready Player 2, is that just weird because normally we play like, together, we're playing co-op or competitive or whatever it might be. But this game won for best social game, so obviously there's something there to people recognizing. Playing this game with other people is kind of cool, right? There's a value to some, even if the most social aspect of it is playing through it by yourself and then seeing the decisions you made as compared to your friends or to the world. There is a very social aspect to this of realizing, like, because we've discussed the times where there's been decisions where we are like 6% of people did it, right, and 94% of people did something different, right, and we kind of talk about like, why did we make a decision that is so vastly different than the average person that's played this game, or why are we so outside of the norm? But then there's other times where we're like at 96% and only 4% of people did the other thing. So it's kind of cool. The social aspect of a single player game is pretty strong in this game.
So just a correction. I know I originally didn't make the distinctions properly, but best social game it was nominated for didn't actually win at the Independent Game Developers Association Award.
Still,
but,
totally fine. But point is still relevant. That the fact that it was recognized means that there's strong value to the social aspect of this game that most people would probably consider strictly a single player game until you start playing it and you realize all of this stuff really adds to it. So. All right, so you want to dive back into the...
That's a good point. Proud Star feels like the old Choose Your Own Adventure books to me, yeah.
Absolutely. The only difference with this is that far more stress because you can't just be like, I'm just going to keep my finger on this page, and if I go right to it and find out that I got rolled over by a boulder, I'm going to jump right back to that last page. On this one, you're like, fick, if I screw this up, I'm done. So you kind of have to, unless you want to go back and redo a chapter, you're locked into it once you go.
And that feels like cheating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, there is value to redo
until
a
after
chapter.
you finish the game.
Right.
Then you can go back and just.
If you want to have a whole different playthrough, I think like that's very much like the Telltale mentality of there are people that go through and play. Now I'm going to play as a bad guy and see how that reacts, or now I want to be like the badass Batman as opposed to the compassionate Batman in my Telltale game. But there's also just as many people, and I'm actually probably more so one of those people where I actually don't usually replay games like this because. I kind of, when I play it through, I want that's like my version of the game. Like that is the way I played it through. And it almost, not that it cheapens it, but it changes it a little bit when you see it differently done by yourself. Like this, where you get to see me do it, is more just like, it's vicariously watching my playthrough, but it doesn't change your version of the game. Whereas if you go through and play your version again, it's almost like you said, a lot of times you're just going to make different decisions just for the sake of making different decisions. And that feels it doesn't feel true to your your decisions were real, right? They were real and they made sense. And so to just say, well, now I'm going to go left instead of right because I want to, it feels like a artificial version of the game. So that's why I think this game is really good at creating tension and making you feel like whatever happens actually does happen. It's like that is the way the game took place for you. That's the way the story played out. So
I agree.
Right. You ready to dive into it now?
Let's do it.
All right, so arrive at Rose's place, 99% of people. Here we go. So meet Rose and Adam outside. So 99% of people had Luther and Alice join Kara. So again, that must have been a thing where maybe if you didn't bring Luther, so only 1% of people didn't bring Luther with them. Because remember, there was a chance where you could have told him no, like back at the house.
No, because only 99% arrived at Rose's place to begin with. So there probably was an opportunity for you to get Kara killed or something like that.
Oh, so it never would have happened at all. Okay, yes, you're right. Yes, you're right. I always forget that it comes off of that main number. So yeah, so it probably means that if you are the 1% of people that got Kara caught or killed or something, then none of this would have happened. So all these numbers are shooting off of 99%. So it should be everything is a flow off of that number, right? Nothing can be 100%. It's going to be all less than, it's going to be 99 or less. So
how scary must it have been for Rose and her son to like have just random people roll up on you like that at your house?
Oh yeah. Well, also I guess it seems like they've been at a point now where they're getting a little bit more used to it, or at least Rose is, because like a couple people have shown up in the last few days. So I'm sure the first person that showed up must have been fucking terrifying, and now they're like, you could tell Adam's still freaked out, whereas Rose just came out and was like, all right, let's get in the house, like let's go. Like she's kind of almost like used to it by now, because that's kind of her position now is I'm going to help these people, right?
Actually, probably cool. To your point, I would imagine that Adam is not necessarily so freaked out or surprised by it, but more he hates it. He doesn't agree with it.
Right.
And every time somebody else new shows up, he's like, "Fick!"
Yeah. And well, that's why you could tell he tried to say right out of the gate, like, she's not here or whatever the fuck he said before she even came out, because he was probably trying to just be like, if I can get rid of these motherfuckers before you show up, then you know I can. Hopefully they'll go away, because I don't want to deal with more fucking people coming to my house. And actually, it turned out he was probably right, because he almost got real fucked because of it. So, it almost backfired, but we'll see. So, only a third of people went and checked on Alice, which is interesting. That, it just felt like now at this point in the game, they have created this situation enough where they give you enough opportunities as Kara to play the kind of motherly role with Alice, that I'm almost always looking for those opportunities, like to interact with her and tell her things are going to be okay. Ever since going back to like make the fire in front so that she stays warm, and then cover her up, and then tell her a story or give her a kiss, and like all these things, they always give you these kind of optional moments where you can interact with her. And obviously that's partially why I've gotten her all the way up to like view me as family, because I've tried to do those whenever I notice them. But obviously
I actually did not check on Alice in that instance.
Oh, see, so it
because I was following when she said come inside the house, I just followed, and I didn't I didn't right.
And that's partially also how the game is, right? If you start walking far enough, it just like it goes to a kind of a cutscene where like you just walk in the house and you can't really go back and do it. So Proudstar did check also. So me and him, good guys. Jess, horrible person. All right, let's move on. Enter the house.
No, I'm sure she's joining us. She heard her just like I did.
Right. Inside the house, let's see. Follow Adam to the guest room. Get Alice ready for bed. All right, so 86% of people drew the curtains. 100% of people obviously talked to Rose, and 99% of people, so all of the people obviously had Luther watching over Alice. So So again, that leads me to believe that maybe there was an option somewhere too where Luther does not join you. Because why would it say talk to Rose if that was a guarantee it would happen off of like, because you wouldn't have gotten to this point if Kara had gotten arrested, you wouldn't have gotten to the point where there'd be one thing that is an automatic and one thing that is of the 99%. So maybe there's also an opportunity where Luther doesn't come with you, and so there's a percentage of those people who didn't bring Luther to have him watching over her in the first place. So that makes sense. Okay, so now follow Rose to the laundry room. Alice approaches Mary. Oh, Mary was the one. Oh, the lady who ran into the room, right? The one who ran in and said, "Oh shit, we got to go follow." Like something is happening or whatever. So, right. All right. So leave the so prevent.
No,
Alice
Mary's the one that was hurt.
The dead one. Oh, she's the dead one. Okay, or her the dead. Right. So I prevented Alice from seeing Mary, which 51% of people did. What did you guys do? Okay.
Me too.
So that's like an even split. That's interesting. What did you do, Proudstar? Jump to that whenever you get a chance. Let us know. Did you let her stay, or did you tell her to go outside the room? But obviously those are the two options. Oh, so he did let her see her. Did it change anything substantially? So you can type. We'll just keep going. But if you want to say if it did anything different or if it changed anything with Alice, even if you just say yes or no, you don't have to type the whole thing.
Might have changed the relationship or been something that shocked her.
Right. Did it shock her? Or was she around when the cop came because of it or something like that? Like, did you not be able to get her out in time? Stuff like that. I wonder. But all right. So then we left the laundry room. Rose and Adam had their argument, which has happened to everybody. So then Rose leaves to find help. So now we come off to the exploring the house. So I'm going to kind of pull it up a little bit first to see the things up here. So 38% of people talked to Luther, although they really didn't lead to anything because I just told him to go fuck off because he was like, I really need to talk to you. It kind of explains they were in love,
Not
but it
talk
played
to
out
him.
the same. Okay. So Proudstar says it kind of explains that they were in love. So he basically explains to her that they were in love, and that's why he's so sad. She explains to Alice, but it plays out mostly the same. All right. So talk to Luther was only 38%. So not most people did not do that.
Yeah, I
but
didn't.
then you did not talk to him.
Right.
Okay. Did you do two of the either things below it?
Nope.
Okay. I wonder if Proudstar, if he wants to jump in, if you can. I mean, I know it's a lot of typing, but if you talk to Luther, or more importantly, if you did either of the other two things, you don't have to tell us all about it, but just wondering what they are. Oh, he only read the magazine. All right. So he did the same as you. So
Yeah.
there we go. All right. So let's see. From this, we have below it, Adam Returns, 99%. So did you guys do any of those three right there?
Yeah, I got Adam Returns, but I didn't do the other three.
Okay. Interesting. So, so we have those three. One of them is obviously an offshoot of Adam Returning, which neither one of us did. So I don't know what.
Dude,
that
by the way,
was
do you
either.
now realize? I know you were confused and you were paranoid about like, am I doing something wrong, or am I failing to read the second page of the magazine?
Yeah.
Do you now realize what the purpose of that second page of the magazine was?
Was an article. I saw it was like it was the one that said one above Adam Returns is see family photo. He said, by the way. So no, I saw that it said something about a version of the fact that the like robots were built in Detroit, but I didn't.
No,
I don't.
the android on the cover of it was an android of a model of Kara. It was Kara's model of android.
Oh, was it? I didn't even
So
know.
it was her face.
Okay, I didn't even
in like
notice.
a tennis outfit.
I didn't know. I saw. Yeah.
So I was wondering if you were going to scroll back to the original article before you put it down.
Right.
Because if not, then you leave that picture of Kara as an android, and the cop comes in, and he could have seen it.
Oh shit! That's awesome. That's cool. I did not even realize that. That's cool. So I just lucked into that one. So I mean, not that I would have lucked into it anyway because
you would have had time to put it back.
Right. That's pretty cool. That is very cool. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. All right. So now we're at the cop at the door. So let's see. Oh, there's a lot of shit on this one. So find and hide evidence of the deviants. So I hid the blue blood pouches. 79% of people did that, but I did not do whatever is above that. I told Alice and Luther to hide. 72% of people did that. I shut the door of the laundry room. 71% of people did that. And I hid the android clothes. 73% of people did that. So how about you? What did you do of those things?
I'm going to go with you so far.
Okay. So I wonder, is the top one just the hide the picture of Kara if you did?
Maybe.
Yeah, that could be that.
Because I didn't see the picture of Kara with that.
Okay.
I thought you got all of it, but I was wrong.
Okay, yeah, so I only hid blue blood pouches, he said. You thought I got all of what?
All of the 5 things that you could have found and hid.
But what I'm saying is maybe that top one is, if I had left the page on Kara's face, maybe that is swipe it back to hide that evidence.
Could be.
Right,
Could
and
be.
so I didn't get a chance to do that one because I didn't leave it on that in the first place, so it didn't count as evidence. Because I had left it already. All right, so now cop at the door. I opened the door. Adam panics, and I reassured Adam. So 99% of people panicked. Oh, open the door. 91% of people. So there were some people that just wait, I guess, till the cop opens the door. Maybe Adam opens it. And then I reassured Adam. 56% of people did that. Oh, I didn't go over here. Yeah, so it said off of that, 18% of people chose the laundry room.
So I have Adam panics highlighted was 99%. I'd open the door at 91%.
Yep.
And the thing under open the door is policeman insists and Kara has to open the door. So I remember I ran out of time and I never reassured Adam, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It was, what happened with that? So I did all that. And then they went upstairs. I didn't send them to the laundry room, by the way. You sent them to the laundry room. Mine upstairs was 51%.
Okay, yeah, 18% only did the laundry room.
Yeah, 51%. And then I didn't reassure Adam. I don't remember where that is. So
yeah, neither did Proudstar. He said.
Yep.
So so he made coffee. 94% of people did that. Oh, let me just see. So nothing happens, I guess, in the laundry room. They could have ended up going.
I lied about Alice, by the way, which was over made coffee. I lied about Alice, 52%, which was over the made coffee.
Oh, okay.
And then.
Oh, and I told the truth about that one, yeah.
Got suspicious because then you heard something go thump upstairs.
Right.
So 24% of us The policeman got suspicious about something upstairs.
Oh shit. Okay. Because underneath is policeman questions Adam.
I got that too.
84%, but I don't have any of the other three.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, so I wonder if that. So did it go? Did it go any differently because you did not reassure Adam? Did he freak out more? Or did it kind of go similar?
He freaked out. He definitely freaked out more. But
okay,
the policeman ended up fooled.
Okay, so the policeman was fooled. Yeah, 82%.
Because I took care of enough other shit, I guess, that it made up for it.
Right. And so there was something that came off of whatever's below made coffee that leads to an end that I did not get. I had policeman sees clothing in mine. Oh, so he did not hide the clothing, but he did fool him anyway. And then policeman left. 82% of people got that. So we still
Where's
got
policeman sees clothing? I don't see that.
No, Proudstar said he got that. Proudstar has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he got policeman sees clothing, I guess.
So as long as you don't fuck up too much shit. Because, like, in a lot of these, like, when he would, I forget which one of them, he got suspicious about a sound and started asking me some questions, and then Carr explained it away.
Okay. That's cool. So I guess if you did most of the work up front to hide as much stuff as you could, and then you didn't act too suspiciously or get out of control, you could pretty much figure your way through most of it. Like you could kind of zig and zag to his responses, right, and kind of keep him cool. But they did that in such a way that definitely created a lot of tension, right, playing through that, because you feel like, oh shit, don't fuck up, and then you're like, Adam, don't fuck this for me, like, trying to keep it under control was cool.
Right.
And having that moment where you're seeing the timer run down, you're running around trying to like figure out all the things you have to hide.
Part.
Is very cool.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, because you're like, let me check this, let me hide this, let me throw this away, and then I had that moment. I'm like, dude, it's gonna be okay. Like, just chill out. And then like even now, you heard I freaked out, and I was like, I put them in the laundry room and then said it was the laundry room that was making fucking noise. Yeah. And I was like, why did I just do that? But it actually worked out.
You should have got burned for that.
Yeah, that should have fucked me. But I guess the funny thing is, like, it makes sense, right? Like the noise was in there.
Yeah, it explains why the noise.
Then explained why there was a noise in there. So he's like, well, I don't need to go check in there. Like, I believe you. The one thing that was probably a little bit weird about that one was that like Adam was definitely being weird. Like he was definitely fucking weirding out.
Yeah.
It's like, why was the cop? Yeah, the cop was weirder to me than he was to I was being totally chill and normal, and he was being fucking totally normal with Adam, who was like, deviants, and he's like, are you okay, son? He's like, I don't know, and he's like, all right, well, everything seems okay here. I'll see you guys later. I was like, what? Yeah. You're a terrible police officer. Like, what are you doing? But other than that, I think everything else was kind of cool because it like definitely created that feeling of tension. Of all that. So it's funny that both of you guys lied about Alice, and part of to me was that I was like, well, she is probably the most believable thing to be in the house. So if push comes to shove, and also she's the most unreliable. Like I was like, stay upstairs, go to bed, and then she just came downstairs. So in my head I was like, well, if she just fucking like comes out, if I have already said she's in the house, I can play my way through that a lot better than if I say, no, there's no one else here, and then all of a sudden a kid just stumbles out, right? Because then I'm real fucked. Like that would be
in hindsight, that's excellent thinking. I agree with you.
So that was kind of just, that was my immediate thought, that I was like, yeah, she's the one thing that is the most like unreliable or the biggest wild card and the easiest to explain by saying, hey, we have a kid here. Like, it's fine. That makes us probably safe.
I just didn't, my reasoning, I think, is saying when you said like anybody else in the house, I was just like, my immediate reaction is no, because I just want him to leave, and I don't want him to interview.
I don't want him to have
to
search.
Talk to them?
Right. Yes.
Right. So, but
that's also why I said she's upstairs sleeping. That's why when they said like, what is she doing, and I said she's upstairs sleeping, because I was like, well, then he's probably not going to be like, let me go upstairs and try to talk to a kid who's sleeping. Because
then you'll have a reason to be like, you're not going to fucking fuck with my daughter now.
No, she's sleeping. You get the fuck out of here. Like, yeah, you need a warrant, motherfucker. Like, so. That was my one thought. Whereas like anything else felt like he could just say, I want to walk around and look. So it was kind of, it was kind of like that was my mindset at the time. And the one thing that I was like definitely freaked, like I said, was the fucking laundry one, which actually worked out. That he was like, okay, yeah, that's believable, but it was cool. That was a good mix of that tension in a way where the gameplay matched the tension that they were creating, and also it was mundane enough, because it was just like your whole mission was be normal. That's all it was just be normal and don't fuck up, which is like cool.
And ironically,
right?
It also jumped, like the pace of the game jumped from like you were like taking your time, walking around
Right.
the house, looking for Easter eggs, and then all of a sudden, oh fuck, the timer's on. You're like, what? There's a
Right.
cop here. Where'd
Yeah.
that guy come from? You know,
Yep.
like, oh shit, this game just went from 0 to 60. It's
Right.
really cool.
And in a way that also I enjoy because they did, it's obviously documented. Like the one thing I didn't like, that one mission where I fucked up with Connor in the club, right? And part of that was because in my head, like so much of that, I was like, it just feels manufactured, and it feels like they're just kind of creating this like timer for the sake of gameplay, right? And I was just like, it's just weird that it's not working the way it feels like in my head it should work. Whereas this felt like it actually made perfect sense. Like everything about it worked the way you think it should. Like there's a cop at the door. Like you need to get your shit together quick because he's not just going to stand there forever and be like, oh, they're not coming. I guess I'll go back to my police car and drive home. Like, of course, you need to figure it out so the timer makes sense. And then the moments of like answer correctly makes sense because you're like trying to be chill but also like get him, we've all seen those movies where it's like there's a body in the in the bathroom and the guys are just trying to talk to get the cop to leave while they can get back in and get rid of the body, right? And so like having this play out in a gameplay way really felt authentic in a way that was kind of like obviously to the point where, remember, I straight up was like, stop talking because I need to hear what they're saying because I want to answer these questions. And I think it was like that one, I mean, that one question that I didn't hear at all, the Android one.
Are there any androids? Yeah, that could have gone real bad.
Yeah, if I had just randomly said yes and been like, no, then I would have been in big trouble. So it's funny.
You'd have been one of those like 1% choices on there that what idiot made that choice?
Right. Why did this asshole tell them about the thing that he's searching for? Like, hey, are there any dead bodies here? Yeah, 4 of them. Like, no one does that. Why would you say that? So yeah, so that was pretty cool. That was a good one, man. I liked it. So any thoughts? Well, did you want to dig into the articles, or where are you thinking next?
So before we go to the article, I do want to dig into article because I guess what was on my mind was a phrase that you used early on the term, the Underground Railroad. You referenced back to that. Yes. A lot of times, and so this game did it early where they referenced, they focused on the person fleeing, looking for sanctuary, and being like, oh fuck, look, there's a place you could go, and it's this dude, and you went to Clackhole's house or whatever, and you look at it from the point of view of like the person that's fleeing got out of that horrible situation, and now there's hope, and they show up to this person pleading for their help, and you're kind of looking at it from their viewpoint. And so when it goes wrong and the person fucking turns on you and ends up to be like a fucking false hope, like it's compelling because you feel for the characters and how they thought they had made it, and instead so like
some of the best movies, right? That pull the rug out from under you when you're like, just when they think they got out of the cave, right? It's like, oh nope, you just got into another fucking cave and there's a billion monsters around, and the movie ends with despair, right? It's that way of realizing.
I know what you're referencing.
Yeah,
I know what you're referencing. Another good show.
Great yep.
But this one, what I thought was really cool about it is it focused equally this time on the person giving shelter.
Right.
And often when we look at Underground Railroads type situations, we always look at like the plight of the person fleeing, and not always at how much the person that is giving shelters is actually risking, and for what, and their reasons behind it and stuff like that. And so I think that's cool. And even like in the civil rights movement, there were a lot of white people that were, getting fucking fire hosed and a lot of bad things happening, standing by people just because it was the right thing to do. So it was really cool because this game has the ability with so many missions to cover all kinds of different topics and take different angles on it with all these different missions. I thought they really used that very well in this circumstance, and that's why I really liked this mission.
I hate Proud Star for reminding me about how I felt when I realized I killed Connor. You're a jerk, man. You're a jerk. You know what? Can you boot him from the room? Is that okay? Is it possible? So it is cool that they did, because it's it is an underutilized or underlooked part of a lot of these movies that talk about the risk put at the people that are the saviors, right? Because a lot of times the version that we see, the story is they're just like this paragon of virtue that just does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and now let's move on past them and talk about the person that's suffering and whatever. And so what that does too, I think the problem with the story told that way, or not the problem, the potential problem of a story being told that way, is it runs the risk of making us as the viewer or the reader of a book or or whatever, like experiencing the story, it makes us falsely assume that in the same situation we would also be that person. Of course we would help these people, because why would we not? I'm a good person. Of course I would want to help them, because you paint them as such this, like, they're just doing the right thing.
It's like easy.
It makes it seem easy, right? So then you start to just focus on, why would I not help this person because this person's suffering and I also want to be that person. When you see it from the other point of view and you realize not that you downplay the plight of the person that is being saved, but when you also equally shed light on the person that is being the savior, it makes you realize why that shit does not happen very frequently. Why more often than why did most people were not helping on the Underground Railroad? Most people were not hiding like Jewish families during the Holocaust. Most people.
By the way, you know who did a great what movie like immediately springs to mind and did a great job of focusing on that? Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds. That was the example I was going to give. The family. That is one of the coolest. That's one of the best scenes in that entire movie. Is showing the tension and fear and all of that stuff and the risk that these people are putting themselves at to go against this. The asshole. And that
the father and the family, the guy that was housing them, the head of the house. That the Jew hunter was sitting at the table with.
Yep.
You can see his kind of own heartbreak or his self-image. Like you can almost see him realizing to himself that he is the coward that he didn't think he was. Right. Like when he took the people in the abstract, fuck that. We're rebels. We're gonna fucking stand up because this is what's right, and it's not. We're not going to stand up. We're not going to support this, this horrible thing that's happening to Jews. And then when he's actually faced with the immediate reality and the consequences of what he's doing, he realizes, I'm not willing to fucking give up my family or my personal. Yeah, and his heart kind of, you see a light die in his eyes at that moment when he's face to face with the Jew hunter, dude.
Yes, and I think that's obviously probably the issue for most people in these circumstances, right? It's much easier in the abstract to think that you want to be something, and then to be that thing when you're pushed to that point where you have an out and you could potentially save yourself and throw somebody else under the bus. Not everyone can be that person, right? So there's plenty of people. Most people can't be that person even in the abstract. They can't even put themselves at risk not in the immediate face of danger, just because the fear of danger is too strong for them. And then if you want to talk about it almost in the way of this game,
it did take courage to put him in your house in the first place.
Absolutely. So that's the point. Is like if we talk about life in terms of the way this game is with the kind of butterfly effect thing, right? It's like most people it'd be like 99% of people would say fuck off, no, I'm not putting you in my house. And then there's 1% of people that say yes, I'll put you in, right? And then the branch from there is like probably overwhelmingly high again of people that buckle under the pressure of realizing now that it's not abstract anymore, now that it's real, like, am I willing to risk my life or my family or my, whatever, my freedom or whatever it might be for these people that I thought I was. And you probably saw a lot of people turn into that guy in that movie, right? Where you would buckle under that. And so I think this game, yes, are they doing it in the same way that like Inglourious Basterds does, or some of these things? No, it's 7 minutes of gameplay, and that was really actually 2 minutes of gameplay within an overarching story. But they did a really good job they did a better job in terms of what most games wouldn't even touch on showing, even just showing that struggle between the family, right? Of like the son kind of being, the one that's more like, dude, this is already putting us at so much risk. Like, why do we keep doing this? And I made the comment that I was like, well, he's kind of an asshole. And you were a little bit more like, well, he's more probably dealing with he's got his own shit going on. And why are you putting us more at risk? Yeah. It was like, you can probably figure out why, if you tie this back to Underground Railroad or, like Holocaust Germany type shit, where you're like, that is why people say the ugly word, because it is just that they're projecting their fear and anger and stress or whatever about something different, right? Like the word about talking shit about minorities or Jewish people or gays or whatever that are being persecuted when you're in this type of a circumstance is usually because you are just stressed out about the risk to yourself or the issues of your own life or whatever, and then you're like, why are we taking on their problems when we have our own problems, right? And so he's also supposed to be a kid, so he doesn't really get it, and his dad died, so he's like, he's not looking at it from the bigger picture. The thing you're always trying to impart upon your kid is like, your life will only be good if you like care about people around you. If you're only worried about yourself, then you're a horrible person, and that's not who I want you to be. And so you see like Rose trying to be this better person, but also realizing the impact that it's having on her relationship with her son, and the struggle that it's putting her through, and the risk that she's obviously putting her son at, and whatever. So it's like, it's cool that they at least tried to touch on that and show that they weren't just this family of like, oh, the Zlatko guy was a fucking monster, and this family is amazing, and that's it, right? It's either one or the other. Like, you can't be anything in between. And this is more like, at first she actually tried at first to be like, oh, it's going to be pretty hard. I don't know if you're going to want to do it. And then when Kara pushed back with a compelling story on why she was like, we have to do this. Like, we don't have there's nothing else we can do. Rose was like, all right, now I fall back into my like, I'm going to try to help this family. Whereas obviously Adam was more like, fuck this, we're alive. That was actually probably the best line. Like, I just didn't like that he was like, they're freaks or whatever. But like, I do like that she was like, no, they're not just robots, they're alive. And he's like, I'm alive and you're alive. And like, that is the argument that people usually give, right? It's like, I'm right here. I'm your son. Like, why are you not worried about me, but you're more worried about these guys than you are about me, like going to jail or getting killed or whatever. Like, that is a pretty normal reaction that, especially, most people, not even just kids, but especially like a high school kid or whatever he is, a 20-year-old or whatever he is, would have a reaction like, what the fuck? Like, you put the welfare of them above your own kid, like, and dad's already gone, and now who knows who's next. That was cool.
That's funny. That's another, because the game is so loaded with like conversation pieces. That's another whole conversation. Is Rose right for putting her son at risk for what she feels is like her purpose or her calling, right? Despite the kind of risk that she's putting her family through.
Right. And that, I guess from my point of view, I would definitely say there is, once you believe that they are legit alive, right, it adds a pretty strong component to that argument to be able to feel like obviously you would say, I want nothing to happen to my kid, but I also can't just, like, you can't use, I guess in her mind she would look at it as like as an activist, right, who's working to better the plight of other people, to say, well, I'm just going to hide behind, well, this could cause a problem for my kid or this could be a problem for my family, so I can't do it. It just becomes your out for everything, right? Because then you're like, I don't want to do anything because anything I do could put my kid at, anything important like this. And there are people who believe,
but there's also a difference between like me saying like, I want to go back for another tour to Afghanistan because my unit needs me,
of course,
right? And my kid's saying like, well, we need you, but so the real harm that comes, yes, they'll suffer harm by me dying, but the real risk is really, most of it is the brunt of it is borne by me. Right. By inviting these people into her house, she's kind of really putting her son at risk as well too. He's an accessory to it.
Well, I guess in her mind, she probably is looking at it, and again, we could just be putting, we could be adding words to her, to the character or whatever. But in my mind, if I was her projecting, I would think that her thought would be, okay, so it's not like he is 6 years old and I'm putting him at physical risk of like, getting, like injured by an android or something like that, right? Because he's an adult enough, but
he can go to prison.
Well, no. So I'm saying that's what I'm saying from a physical harm standpoint. Yes, there is the risk of like getting shot by the police or something. But I'm saying if you're not thinking that far ahead, if you're just looking at a physical harm, it's probably like, okay, he's not like a child where he could just inadvertently get accidentally hurt any more than any other adult can, right? Because he's old enough, right. But he's also young enough where feasibly her argument could be, I could take all of the responsibility. If it's a legal responsibility, I could take all and say he had nothing to do with it. He didn't even know. He's a kid. He's 20 years old. He was not involved in any of this, and it was all me, and he wasn't, here for it. So if you're looking at it that way, you could probably convince yourself, whether or not it's actually, true and would hold up in court or whatever, you could probably convince yourself he's not really in physical danger any more than anything else that we're doing, and he's I can protect him from the legal danger because it's not his choice. He's not doing any of this. I'm doing it on my own, and I'll take full responsibility if we get caught. So that's probably her mindset. It's because now it'd be different if she invited like a murderous fucking like rampaging robot into the house. Then you're like, okay, yeah, now you're an insane person because you're actually putting your family at risk in a way that doesn't make sense. Like let the cops handle that. But in this case where she's like, I'm doing the right thing, and it's more that he has a kind of fundamental disagreement with the idea. It's like he just disagrees with the concept of helping them, but it's not so
well,
much
I mean,
that she thinks...
to be fair, he's like, I already lost my dad, and now I'm gonna lose my mom too. I understand. Right. I understand. Yes. It's like, fuck these people. I got my own problems.
Right. And I do agree with that. I mean, it makes sense. I get that point of view, but I guess from her point of view, like I said, from the activist point of view, that there are people that are like, this is a thing that is worth potentially going to prison for. And like, if it sucks, it may suck for you.
And
it may be terrible.
By the way, Proudstar just brought up like the different aspect that, you've complained in some aspects of David Cage being too heavy-handed, but he was very, like, he let you figure that out by himself as much as you could, right? Like the reference was, it happened to my people, and he left it at that. Like, there's that whole thing where she's like, look, I'm black. I know what it means, like, what it means to be in an unfair, fucked up situation, not to rely on others for help. So, I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
cool,
and
like
I mean, it was so I think part of that, like, I mean, when we get into, like, when you just said the heavy-handed, that part of it was one of those things that I think, I don't want to cast too much of a stone at it. It could have been less heavy-handed. Like, it could have actually probably gone completely unsaid, because the implication is already, to anyone who's playing this game who is even remotely, like, socially aware in any way, you obviously understand, it's a family, it's a black family helping somebody in a situation that is obviously reminiscent of the Underground Railroad. You probably could have done it in a way where it's not even said at all, but I don't think he went. It wasn't like he went over the top where he was like, "Son," she was like, "One day you're gonna understand that, like, in the '60s this happened to our, to black people, and white people didn't want to help us either, and who would we be if we didn't help them either?" Like, it could have been that. So I think this was like a decent enough splitting of the hairs, for somebody who, obviously, I've said when it comes to nuance is not his strong point. I feel like that's, there are times where I'm like, you can probably let the gameplay speak for itself, or the story can speak for itself without actually having to write in a line that explains the thing that, obviously we already got. But I do understand, or I like the idea of trying to, make the story be about the idea of, like, paying it forward, right? Like, this has happened before, and we're no better than them if we just say, the risk is on us, so I don't want to take the risk, right? Because that's what happened to... That's what white people did forever, like, leading up to the civil rights movement and beyond, right? Was like, I
don't agree with slavery, but, it's the law, and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, so, well, it is what it is, right? I mean, it's kind of what we're living through right now, right? Is there's this revolt against the establishment of, like, the younger generation pushing back and saying, like, we have to stop just saying, well, this is how it's been, so this is how it's going to be, and that means way more when it's about, like, actual shit that is, like, changing people's lives from a, like, from a civil rights movement and shit. Like, right now people are saying, like, the fucking, politics as usual is garbage. Like, back then there were people that were, like, putting their lives at risk and, whatever, and there were plenty of people that were just sitting back saying, yeah, no, I would love to be, like, closer to, people that were different than me, non-whites, but it's just not cool, and everyone tells me it's not cool, so who am I? I can't change it, right? And that's so much easier to do. Like, that is the norm. More often than not, people fall into they're called social norms for a reason, right? Because that becomes the norm, and that's what people end up just doing because it's what they're told is the way it needs to be done. And so it takes a much stronger person to be like a Rose, right? That says, if we don't do it, like, who the fuck can we rely on? Like, who's going to do it then? Like, because if everyone is like us, then no one does it. So there has to be one person who says, I'm going to be the domino that doesn't just fall over and continues the chain of events that have always, occurred the way they always have. And yeah, that might put my family at risk. That might even put me at risk or whatever. But, like, at a certain point, every single one of us can find a reason why it's easier to fall over than to stand up. And so at what point you make that decision of what the thing is for you that is important enough, there may be plenty of people behind you, other dominoes behind you, that would say, I know, like, you shouldn't have done it because you have a kid. Let the people that don't have kids do it where they're only putting themselves at risk. But it's like those people will say, well, I have a dad, and what happens to my dad if I get loved because he's going to depend on me later? Like, or somebody's going to say, oh, well, I do this and I do that, and so but it's like everyone's going to find a reason. So there has to be a thing that you finally just say, enough's enough. I'm just going to decide to stand fast and say no, right? And that's what she was trying to basically do.
And it also seems like she's trying to rear her son to be that kind of person that is going to be like her, be an activist and not be scared. So while she's putting him at risk, she's also setting like the example for him to determine what he thinks is the right thing. So.
Kind of like Marcus's dad, right? The idea of trying to make decisions that also coach your child to be a better person, because that's what we're doing all the time, right? It's just making decisions so that our kids see them and hopefully they emulate the better decisions, right? I mean, obviously we make plenty of decisions that we're like, don't look over there, don't watch dad do this because I don't want you to do this when you grow up. But the goal is to try to, teach them to be a better person. And so that whole thing was about this family that's gone through obviously trauma and is trying to struggle out of it. And one of them is at the risk of being pulled under by the trauma, and she is trying to rise above it and pull him out, right? And try to help him become a better person. And so we'll see what happens next. But that was a cool one. I liked it.
Yeah, I was a fan of this one, like I said, and there's a few more on the horizon that I'm really looking forward to.
Nice.
So, are you done for the day, or are you?
No. Well, did you want to go into the article too first, because we didn't get a chance to dive into that?
Yeah, I've been looking for it while we've been talking about it. Do you remember what it was?
It was like World War III.
World War III,
right? Fight it? Yeah.
All right. So here it goes. I found it. So who would win it is the question. And by the way, this reminds me, there's a podcast I haven't listened to yet, but just in case any of you are looking for anything else to listen into and give me an idea as to whether you found it interesting or not. Damn. I don't know where I left. All right. Well, I'll find the title of it, but it's basically it's a series that's like just started. It's a couple episodes in, and it's basically like it's something about like a new civil war could be on the horizon, and here's what we think are the driving threats to it and why it's more likely than you would ever think that it is. Right. And so they started doing a podcast series on it, and that could go horribly wrong if done in a hateful way or not an intelligent way, a reasonable way.
Right.
So I haven't had the chance to actually listen to it, but I heard about it actually, like I think through the Joe Rogan podcast recently. It was during the episode that he did where he was debating stuff with Ben Shapiro. So I'm in its worst version, it could be from like somebody that Ben Shapiro holds in high esteem, and then that wouldn't, that's not something that I would necessarily be that crazy about, but. Yeah, I don't remember the name of it right now, but
if we think of it, or we can post it up. Yep.
Right. In any case, World War III, who would win it? All right, and then like the little side articles are like bonus culture: why bankers pay themselves so much. Is President Warren too close to cyber life? And those are just titles, obviously, that they didn't write. But here's the article on World War III. If fighting does break out in the Arctic, who's going to win? America has less access to the area, but is surrounded by allies. Russia has a head start on technology. Their androids can work in sub-zero conditions. The U.S. Navy is stocked with Trojan and Myrmidon cyberlife units, which are specially adapted for marine combat, where the Russians have invested heavily in ice cutter units capable of forging new paths through solid ice. Both armies seem evenly matched, and Harry Grayton, president of the World Council of Territorial Disputation, which I guess is like the UN, has described both U.S. and Russian claims to Arctic territory as equally tenuous and equally cynical. A spokesperson for the UN has also commented on the neck and so I guess it's different from the UN, because the UN also commented that the neck and neck nature of Arctic competition, the fact that forces are so evenly balanced, is just one more reason why conflict must be avoided at all costs. This is a war that everybody would lose. Right. So I think this is more world building.
Yeah, that's cool.
But definitely a comment that this is one of the common things that we have all this kind of I would say politically charged discourse over social media, and politicians being quick to say that tensions with Russia could be high in certain aspects, and China as well. Like, these are situations that, because we're evenly matched forces, like you don't like it feels like ultimately somebody would resort to something to win it that would be like the equivalent of Hiroshima, which
is mutually assured
would be better
destruction,
for everyone.
right? The idea of two huge superpowers going at it in a way where no one will win. Like that's kind of what like that. So that's why it's interesting that they started as who would win World War III, and the answer is obviously like nobody, because
nobody. Right?
If those two fight each other, right, we all lose. Like so, when aliens fight predators, we lose, right? And so that's kind of what this whole thing has been about up to this point, or not the game per se, because a lot of that stuff is the world building on the back end, but all of the stories we've read about the world, the fight in the Arctic, and all the things that are happening to get Antarctica, and all of that for the Blue Blood, has been this like encroaching threat of it's been more and more dire. It's gotten more and more kind of real world as it's gone on, right? And it's become this idea of a it's like this idea of the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Where we're just sailing towards each other, towards this thing that will end in terror for everyone, and you kind of feel like there's no positive end in sight. And so every time they drop a story out there, they just make it, they make it a little bit more scary and a little bit more terrifying, and makes you realize like superpowers fighting against each other nowadays, anything past like World War II, is just going to end in death and destruction for everyone, because there's nobody that's just going to quietly say, my bad, I give up, you get the land, right? Like somebody's going to be like, well, fuck it, if we're going down, I'm firing everything we have, like I'll take everyone out while I can. And that would be the way most, that's why everyone thinks, what's that whole quote, like, I do not know what weapons like World War III will be fought with, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones, because it's the whole thing, like we will, whatever we do in World War III does not matter, because World War IV, we're back to the Stone Age again, and that's how it's going to play out. So it's kind of cool that they keep throwing in those little world-building stories about the battle, because that's actually been some of my more interesting ones, just to kind of read about what's happening on the back end.
Yep. So so I think
awesome,
we've bled this one dry, right
2
on
hours
point.
in.
2 hours. Yep. So what do you think? Is this are we gonna call it a night on this one, or we got another one in us?
I think I'm gonna call it for right now. I'm gonna figure it out, and how about I'm gonna hit you up in a little bit and let you know. Kind of depends on what the schedule looks like. See if I can get another one in before we wrap it up.
I could probably use a short nap in the meantime.
Yep, there you go. All right, let me hit you up. But this has been an awesome one. Go check us out, live from the Man Cave. You can go check out livemancave.com. That's got everything on there. Definitely check out that Discord. I tell everyone that's like the place to. We're on there all the time, so we got a bunch of people in that community, so you can just kind of communicate, come up with ideas. As we're getting kind of, I feel like we're on the steady rumble towards the end. It's kind of we're in the third act at this point, so things are coming to a head. So I'm excited to see what happens next. So, all right, Jess, it's been a good one. I will be back in a little bit.
Here, man.
Yeah, we'll hit it up and we'll figure out if the next one's. Yeah, we'll figure out if another one's on the docket for tonight. But otherwise, thank you for checking us out, everybody.
If there is, it's if we're doing another one, it would be Marcus. I think the next one is called Capitol Park, and it's Marcus. It's an interesting one. I'm looking forward to your take on it.
You got it. Oh, by the way, just want to say thank you, Proudstar, for coming into the room. He wrote, later, guys. Thanks for having me and all my shenanigans. We appreciate every time you come in, dude. All your, what you've been doing and what you played through and what you saw and coming up with names. And we're like, fuck, what was that guy's name? And he's like, Luther. And we're like, fuck, what was her name? And he's like, yeah, we appreciate all that stuff. So thank you. And anyone out there, you can definitely jump on too and come in if you have played the game and you want to jump in, or if you've not and you just want to kind of watch. Feel free to join us on Twitch, and obviously you can catch these up on YouTube to get caught up beforehand. But otherwise, it's been a killer time, dude. I appreciate it. Thank you for another one. And I'll hit you up in a little bit. We'll figure out what's going on. Thank you, everybody. Peace.